segment of Harry Potter. So I don't think I have to explain what Harry Potter is, right? At this point, everybody knows who J.K. Rowling is, what Harry Potter is. So I might start this little segment from a question. Are there any current or former Harry Potter fans here? Are there any former or current Harry Potter fans here? Don't be shy. We will be discussing the topic of being a fan of Harry Potter and a few other things. Only a fan of this game, not Fantastic Beasts. Former years ago. Okay, from what I understand, Fantastic Beasts is a whole separate thing from Harry Potter, like a prequel in middle school, right? Right. So, what I want to say is that I have actually never been a fan of Harry Potter. I have former loved as a kid, fell off when before the turf stuff, right? So in my case, I have never been a fan of Harry Potter. I have never read a single Harry Potter book. I have never watched a single Harry Potter movie. And I have always felt that all the games were very mediocre. I have never gotten into any Harry Potter games, right? Socialist says, I am still a fan somewhat, but only projects that don't involve J.K. Rowling, because she's terrible and the writing is awful, and prequels, they are really bad. Okay. So, the thing is that even if I still have a lot of positive associations with stuff from Harry Potter in spite of its author, I think that happens with media sometimes, that you can dislike the author, but the universe is so vast, the thing is so big, that it sort of outgrows the author, right? It becomes much bigger than the author themselves. Like, it becomes a separate identity. I'm not sure if it's even like the death of the other thing, or the separating the work from its author, because I'm not sure how much of the Hogwarts Legacy game, for example, was even written by J.K. Rowling. Did she create anything like for this game, story, or anything? Did she provide anything? I mean, why play that when you can just play Chrono Trigger? Hogwarts Legacy is definitely the first good game. Okay. My spouse and I built the enormous Lego Hogwarts set a few years ago. The huge one. Oh wow. I think I think I might even remember you showing it. They had her very hands off. Okay, right. So, in my opinion, even if I've never been into Harry Potter, in my teens, Harry Potter was part of my life by proxy a lot. I kept hearing about the new movies. I kept hearing about the books from my friends that have read them. And of course, the games were in my face all of the time, you know? And there was one time in my life when I have considered reading the Potter books. I have never considered watching the movies, but there was a time when I've actually considered reading the books. That was when a friend of mine has told me that there was a rumor that the title character Harry might die by the end of the books. There was a time, at least in Poland, when a lot of people, even people not directly interested in Harry Potter, speculated on whether or not Harry Potter would die by the end of the series. You know, it was a big discussion among fans of the series, but also among people that were not fans at all. This is how big Harry Potter has become. Discourse on Harry Potter was a thing even among people that did not like the series at all, and it almost nearly got me into reading Harry Potter in the first place. But at the end, my laziness won, and I have not read any Harry Potter books. And very good, because the rumor was a lie, and Harry Potter did not die. Or did he? Did Harry Potter die at the end of Harry Potter? Did Harry Potter die at the end of Harry Potter? Can anyone confirm? I heard that instead of dying, Harry Potter became a cop or something. A wizard cop. And Harry Potter's child expressed being afraid of being discriminated against at the end of Harry Potter, or something strange like that. I don't know. The worst Warner Bros. Game besides Gotham Knight is the Middle Earth games. Oh. So yeah. What do you think? Which brings me to the fact that there has been a new game, as you can see, is out. Hogwarts Legacy game. It's a game that's an open world game about Harry Potter, and apparently the game is much better than people have anticipated. Harry Potter dies briefly during the final battle, and then comes back and becomes a cop. I think, okay, in coming classic Lucy joke, I think it's fair to say that this whole thing has been a huge cop-out. Yay! I have made a joke. This whole thing has been a huge cop-out. Okay, I have made my cringy pun for the day, so we can now continue with the segment. There has been a lot of discourse surrounding Harry Potter, the game, Hogwarts Legacy, you know, there has been a lot of controversy surrounding this game, and namely, people, the Harry Potter game, because J.K. Rowling is undeniably a TERF, undeniably a transphobe. This game has created an attempt at making a boycott happen. Wizards of the Coast type cop-out that would encourage people not to play, buy, or stream this game. And I have to sadly say that this discourse, this boycott, has turned into, instead of boycotting the game, instead of targeting the game, so to speak, it became a harassment against individuals who would choose to buy the game, calling them transphobes, creating a whole list of streamers who would choose to stream and play the game, and branding them as traitors to the trans community, and many such things, right? And I think there's a big element of, how should I say, blaming the individual instead of blaming the system, right? And well, a little different. Wizards of the Coast was taking away economy from its players. Much less people would support HP if they had their economy impacted somehow. Right. It's true. But also, there's a case to be made that Wizards of the Coast is not as huge as Harry Potter, right? Right. ASMR stream. It's true. Right? Right. So, yeah. I think there's a lot of essentialism going on when it comes to these discussions, sort of essentializing a whole world, essentializing a thing, essentializing people that choose to play a game, right? And sort of there's this sort of argument that people use that if you choose to play Hogwarts Legacy, that you are choosing a game instead of the trans community, right? I have it written down. The essentialism of thinking about creative work and the influence of the author over work. The death of the author may be false, but is the work really ruined, right? It may be true that it's not good to separate the author from the work via the death of the author, but I think it is also worth asking yourself, is the work totally ruined, right? I think it might be possible to still enjoy the work while fully accepting and condemning the artist. What is your opinion on this topic? Right? And I think it becomes a very helpful mode of analysis of the work itself, of engaging with the work. True. But keep in mind, there are many ways of enjoying a piece of work, right? You can enjoy a piece of work even if you do not like the work itself, which what I'm saying right now might feel contradictory, but it's not entirely true. You know, you may like the fact that a piece of work illustrates certain hurtful ideas that you can analyze, that you can point to, that you can use as a tool to showcase certain types of thinking. And in case of J.K. Rowling, J.K. Rowling's views about the world, I would say, are pretty essentialist. I would say that J.K. Rowling has a pretty essentialist view of the world, and that the essentialism of J.K. Rowling sort of shines through her work, through the world that she has created. I think the essentialism of J.K. Rowling is present in the Harry Potter fiction, if that makes sense. And it is also present in her transphobic rhetoric. I think J.K. Rowling is trapped in the cage of her own essentialism, in the cage of really worshipping the status quo, and really worshipping of seeing the thing, like thinking that if things are as they are, then things are as they should be, if that makes sense. Do you think that J.K. Rowling is essentialist? Do you think that J.K. Rowling's essentialist rhetoric is visible through her work and through her transphobia? I think so. And I think it's possible to analyze and therefore enjoy the work itself through this lens. A lot has been pointed out on how the Harry Potter universe hinges on essentialist truth, right? Ah yes, Joanne is definitely a buddy middle class English woman with everything good that goes with that, most notably the worship of the English imperialist status quo and patriarchal social norms. The sorting hat kinda doesn't work otherwise if it's not for essentialism. That's right, yeah, exactly. And so, I bring you to the next point, okay? I think personally that people saying that, quote unquote, people are choosing to love Harry Potter over the trans community. I don't think it's a fair, I don't think it's fair framing of the situation. And I do not really believe that playing this game supports J.K. Rowling as much as people might believe. And I think it's possible to play the game and be not a transphobe and also to support trans people. I think it's possible to play this game and criticize J.K. Rowling, to sort of criticize the messaging in Harry Potter, and to still be a fan of the world. You know? I think it's possible. I think it's sort of possible to play the game for a variety of reasons and still support the trans community and still be in favor of the trans community and not be a transphobe at the very least. You know? I don't think playing this game makes a person transphobic. Boy Meets Meanie says, I'm not jumping down on anyone's throat if they play this game unless they spout J.K. Rowling's transphobia and essentialism, right? But that's a different thing at that point. At that point, that person is just a transphobe. So, in my personal opinion, on the boycott, I think it is more than fair enough if people do not wish to play the game, if people do not feel comfortable with playing the game. And I think it's also fair if people want to play the game. An entropy fan says, which is not to say that people deliberately choose to throw trans people under the bus. They just don't care about the collateral damage as much as they care flying on poorly coded magic broom. Playing the game is public, however, is a lot of PR and, more importantly, affirmation for JK. I think it depends, right? I think it's possible to stream this game or play this game in a way that does not give affirmation or even PR to J.K. Rowling. And we will talk about this at the end of the segment, okay? We will talk about it as well. So, I have considered, I'm personally of the feeling Obsessiforge NB says that if no leftists play the game, there will be no cogent leftist critique of the game. And I don't like that. We will get to this topic at the end of the segment, okay? I will get to this topic as well. I will get to this as well because I do think that it's important to be such a voice as Obsessiforge has said, you know? So I will move on to the next part, which is to say many streamers and YouTubers and content creators have talked about this issue. Some streamers have played the game on their show, and some have been harassed over it. We shall look at some of their videos and listen to the arguments and comment on their arguments. So I have a few links pre-prepared of streamers that discuss the Potter game. Okay.
It makes
Keffals,
me think
Hogwarts Legacy is not transphobic.
that they're talking about like Richard Spencer or Nick Fuentes. where platforming them is legitimately dangerous, and they've been deplatformed in the first place. But with someone who already has a massive platform, it doesn't make any sense.
Hey, everyone.
Oh yeah, platforming, like playing. I will add this because I have not expected this argument to come up. In my opinion, playing the Potter game is not platforming J.K. Rowling because it is impossible. It is physically important to quote unquote platform J.K. Rowling. Everybody knows who J.K. Rowling is. There's not a person that does not know who J.K. Rowling is. Okay? It is literally impossible to platform J.K. Rowling.
Everybody. So I'm at an airport and the lighting is poor. We'll talk about that later. But more importantly, I wanted to talk about the fact that I'm a fan of leftist streamer Hassan. I don't think he's perfect. I don't always agree with him, but I like him quite a lot, and I think he does a lot of really good work. And I think he's a good egg. I think he's a real good egg overall. But recently, because this is online, he got into a bit of drama, as happens sadly a lot with content creators, and shout out to FD Signifier's great recent video on this topic, by the way.
Okay, I'm not gonna touch this one yet.
But this drama was about how he, Hassan, wanted to play on his stream a certain wizarding game,
Adding to the topic of platforming, ethical consumption, culture wars, canceling. More than anything, I feel this game spotlight is overblown. I think no one's taking into consideration the most important thing of all, okay? I think I'm gonna be the original streamer, the ASMR streamer that will point out the most important thing in this whole discourse, okay? The most important thing in this whole thing. The most important thing is that J.K. Rowling, the seething transphobe, deceiving bigot, gets angry at the smallest possible things. She gets angry at people criticizing her on Twitter. She actually co-tweets people that criticize her. She made a full-blown affair about people that have arrived in front of her house. Okay? So now, let me ask you this question sincerely, and I would like to have an answer in the chat. Alright? I want this answered in the chat when I ask the question, because I think that no streamer, no content creator has actually taken this into account. You have not missed Parasite Eve. Parasite Eve will be our relaxation and a palate cleanser after the Potter game segment, okay? Okay, so let me ask you a really important question, everybody. Tell me, how would J.K. Rowling react if streamers made millions of dollars for transgender related causes on the back of her game? How would J.K. Rowling feel and react if several people announced proudly, we have given hundreds of thousands of dollars or even millions of dollars to trans organization that will enable us to help people transition, to help people find safe spaces from transphobia, to help people know better what to do when they have no resources or knowledge on what to do to move forward with their transition. What would be the reaction of J.K. Rowling about something like that? You know? That's right. She would be angry. She would be angry. Exactly. She would be mad. And I think that it's like a valid thing to do. Oh, Keffals brought it up. Well, we're watching her video now. Okay, I take this back. I take this assertion back. Keffals said it before me. I give credit. I do not steal credit from people. I think this is a valid point from Keffals. You know? I think this is a very valid point. Okay, maybe Vaush might have brought this point up as well. So I might be the third to bring this up. I might be the third. I think it would be a net good. Her cut of individual game sales in not negligible, and people don't usually watch streamers to decide to buy or not buy games. And I have seen counter arguments from the trans community, namely, why don't you stream a different game? Why don't you stream one of the indie games created by a trans person? And I have an answer to this question, okay? The idea that political officiousness or material helping the trans people is less important than a symbolic gesture is very frustrating. That's right, Arkael. Can I tell you why we actually should not stream a different game? Can I tell you that? Are you interested in my opinion on the matter? Can I answer to you the question of why we shouldn't just stream a different game? In my opinion, press 1 if you're interested in the answer. What do you think? Okay. The answer is, and it's actually a pretty simple answer. The answer is because the Harry Potter franchise is an enormous one. And while it would be nice if streamers would play an indie game made by a trans person instead of the Potter game, it is also true that there's a very high probability that a much smaller audience would watch that stream, and a person that wants to earn money for the trans community by streaming the Potter game, you would probably get viewers that are not even trans allies, that do not support the trans community in any way. You could get people that are just neutral, but just want to see someone play the Harry Potter game. And those people could potentially support the streamer and pay people to support the trans causes. You could earn a lot more money to support trans organizations, to support trans causes, and in fact, you could, by by playing the and expose the commentary about the issue as well. But more importantly, you could earn a lot of money that you could potentially give to a indie trans creator to create a much better game than they otherwise could have created, right? You create capital that you can turn into action in the trans community, right? Does that make sense? Am I making sense? In our society, capital is power. And by streaming the Potter game, we gain the capital, and so we gain the power. That is my opinion. Okay? Okay. So let's see what Keffals has to say.
Controversial for reasons that I spoke about in a recent video in order to raise money for transgender charities. To try to use a game that is part of a wizarding franchise that is owned by an anti-trans bigot doing active harm to trans people, to fight back by doing a charity stream to try to make money for trans people, those she is directly harming. Honestly and truly, I think that is a fantastic impulse. It's a kind one, it's a caring one, it's one that shows he has a desire to do good, to help, to be kind, and to try to make change, that is his first desire. And I think that speaks all very well of him and who he is and what he tries to do with his work and his platform. And I'm sure if he did do that charity stream, that it would make a lot of money for transgender charities, which is awesome. However, there is an issue. He is a leader for many in many communities, not just...
Okay. This person is, I have seen her video, right? And I know the argument of giving promotion to Joanne, right? Promotion or sort of promoting the game more. But there's like a few aspects to this. And this comes back to the building of capital, right? But yeah, the game itself, you can tell it's a team of developers that don't agree with Rowling's views, having all the characters address the player via neutral pronouns, which surprised me. Interesting. But of course, there might be, I think the neutral pronouns might be a different reason. Although fair enough, yeah, fair enough to the neutral pronouns, fair enough. But I would like to put forward an argument, okay? Have you ever heard about the fact that a billionaire, at some point, a person becomes so rich that basically their wealth becomes just numbers on their screen? They have more money than they could ever spend in their life. And basically, whatever more they earn, it becomes just earning for earning's sake. Have you ever heard this argument before? Right? Are you familiar with this argument that at some point a person becomes so rich that more money basically becomes like an ego thing, and it becomes like just making money for making money's sake? You have more money than you will ever spend in your life, right? So basically, yes, Boy Meets Minnie says, yeah, for JKR, boycott wouldn't affect her, even if the game failed miserably in sales, because J.K. Rowling at this point is so rich that I would argue that she's set for life, okay? And the thing is, everybody, the trans community is not rich. The trans community is in fact very poor. So actually creating successful fundraisers, successful campaigns on the back of this game is always a win for the trans community, because trans community is poor and it needs all the money and support that it can get, you know? Does that make sense? So I think for us to be able to defend ourselves, for us to be able to survive the horrible climate that we are in the US, we must sort of organize. We must be able to have capital to fall back on. You know? Yeah, exactly. And I think we should be doing this. Okay, let's continue.
The leftist community, but the streamer community and many others, including a leader for many trans people. And I see a lot of folks, including other streamers or even transgender streamers, say, oh, well, if he can play the game.
Okay, this might be a little bit of a stun lock, but I have a question for Obsessive Forge. Obsessive Forge, as an editor on YouTube, are you able to create timestamps in real time for this stream? You know? As I stream, are you able to sort of add timestamps to this stream by sort of in the description doing the times, like writing time codes and what's happening in which section? If you're able to do this, then I would be thankful if you could be adding timestamps as we move along. But if you're not able, then it's fine. But I've seen streamers that had the timestamps right after the stream ended, so I was wondering about that. Okay, I don't think they can do that live. Only Twitch has that. Okay, that's fair. Oh, that's fair. Okay. Okay, we continue. That was a bit of a stun lock that I will need to cut off in editing. Okay.
Then I can. And then I see.
This is where I mean. This is exactly what I mean. And why this is basically a call out video about me. And then she shows the tweet in just a bit.
Other people who look up to those streamers and leaders and say, oh, if they can play it, then I can donate to trans charities and play it myself. But here's the thing. Now that everyone here has bought and played the transphobes game and gave it more money and attention and validity, that's what you've used your platforms to do. To give validity to this game, to say it is okay, it makes her relevant.
J.K. Rowling was not getting paid.
Okay, so I will repeat my argument as well. Even if it gives relevance to I think it's even if the game gains relevance, even if it gives the company an impetus to create another Harry Potter project, if the trans community can raise a lot of money, then it is still a win for the trans community. Do you know why? Because if the company does another project like this, then do you know what we can do? We can once again stream it and gain even more money. That's right. We can keep gaining money and finance trans-related causes on the back of the Harry Potter franchise. And I do not think there's a bigger win than this, you know? Imagine funding a safe haven for the trans youth that have been kicked out of their homes because their families hated them. A place they can call home, you know? Like a place that they could be safe in, right? I think it's a win.
Per game sale, like per game sold. That's not how that works.
The main problem of Keffals is that the fame boosted her ego to orbit, and she's neither Vaush nor Demon Mama to be able to provide captivating coverage, insightful commentary, or charisma. Well, I don't know. I think she has her own style. I don't think she's Vaush or Demon Mama, but I do think she's herself, and I do think she does provide interesting stuff in her own right, right? For example, I'm still struggling with my voice. I don't even have the full range to express emotionally, you know? And I still think that I'm working on my format. And like, so far, I'm not sure if my segments are that charismatic or super cool, but I'm working on it. I think we are all working on it. And I think that Keffals is interesting, entertaining, and insightful in her own way, you know? Does that make sense? But yeah, I don't think it would be fair for me of all people to comment on other people's entertainment values, you know? Thank you, Socialix. You know, it's limited because I'm still in the middle of training, you know? Keffals is pretty clear about not being the same space as Demon Mama or Vaush. Yeah, I think Keffals does provide a valuable voice, you know? Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
I forgot exactly what it was. Someone explained to me how the deal is set up with her IP. But I know that it isn't based on like per game sold. There's already an agreement and she's already made her money.
I don't believe in such a thing as like essential quality to a person, that nobody can reach this sort of thing. That I think if you want to be a certain way, then you can practice, you can hone your craft, and with time you will reach the thing that you want to reach. Does that make sense? I don't think things are set in stone, that if someone is that there are people that just quote unquote not cut out for something. You know, maybe I'm a bit too optimistic on that front. Obsessive Word says, I think it's okay for people to do their thing in different spheres as long as we are all growing as people. And I think it's important to create a solidarity front, right? Diversity is strength, remember that.
it makes her platform and franchise relevant, and allows her to keep justifying and causing harm to the transgender community. And also keeps telling the people in charge of this franchise that yes, they can still keep making stuff within it and make money while she's still doing her horrible stuff. And I'm not just talking about generally in our culture today, but I'm saying that this is happening within our own spaces that are
Yeah, saying that buying this game keeps her relevant as if... No, she was relevant before. She would be relevant even if this game tanked. She's had movies that tanked. I don't understand where people went with platforming. It really feels like people do not have an understanding of what platforming is.
Okay, this feels like a bit of a stun luck, but I would like to address it. And then Trippy Fan says, yes, that makes sense, but not everyone who plays the piano and plays it a lot becomes Mozart. Some less than common confluence of factors made Mozart Mozart. So, I personally think that it's a lot of factors. Some factors can be the type of training someone went through, the type of environment someone was raised in, the type of self-esteem that someone possesses, right? Keep in mind that many things that we can or can't do is sort of a part of our self-limitation. And it has been fairly well documented in the world of sports. There are many times when there's a record set and nobody seems to be able to break the record, right? Like this is like a record that is set in stone and the best people keep to this record and there are people below and it is considered that people just cannot do it. And then we have the first person that breaks that record, right? And does better than everybody else. And soon after, suddenly a lot more people follow suit and also reach the same record, which sort of shows us that there's this element of self-limitation of what we believe is possible and what we believe is impossible. That once we see that someone has done the impossible, suddenly we believe that it is actually possible and more people do it, if that makes sense, right? That's because I don't speak in falsetto today. I am training my less falsetto-like voice. I'm training my less falsetto-like voice, if that makes sense, you know? Does it make sense for me? Right? Does that make sense? I think it makes sense, what I'm saying. Okay.
She's going to be relevant for a very, very long time. Can confirm, rights are projected before the game is made, and then she is given royalties based on that. How we do it at another large publisher who deals with franchises. Got it. Yeah, she's a billionaire with a massive following. Whenever I hear these platforming arguments, it makes me think that they're talking about like Richard Spencer or Nick Fuentes, where platforming them is legitimately dangerous, and they've been deplatformed in the first place. But...
Right, I think it's better suited. And then once I practice more, I'll be able to marry higher voices with a bit lower voices, and then I'll be able to express myself with more range. True, but let's just say that I'm a bit more flexible when it comes to being cut out or not being cut out to do something.
With someone who already has a massive platform, it doesn't make any sense.
Supposed to be directly
I
transgender
am a helpless optimist.
supportive. Yes, the world sucks. Yes, it's breaking streaming records, and that sucks. But it doesn't mean that we have to replicate that economy within our own spaces that are supposed to be safe for trans people. It supports her economy, not ours, not the marginalized, not transgender people's, and it normalizes in every.
I disagree with this argument. I think that there is no way to support quote unquote J.K. Rowling's economy more than it already is. But I think it is possible to meaningfully support trans people's economy by gaining funds, by investing the funds into very specific trans related goals, by improving lives, you know? I think improved trans people lives sort of are a better benefit than any support J.K. Rowling could get, you know? In fact, yeah, I think I've made my point on this.
Everyday discussions and discourses, keeping her and her platform in our attention, in our mind, in our culture, and we need to not do that.
You know what? If I sound breathy, then it's probably because I am just breathy, you know? Like, this is part of my practice. Not being breathy is part of my practice. So be patient because I am aware of my breathiness. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for being breathy. But in the future I will fix this, okay? That is my promise to you. That is my promise to Gray DHD.
That. We don't use the tools of the oppressor to take down the oppressor. I'm not saying we're going to be able to take down the oppressor today, but playing that game is playing on her and transphobic terms. This is what I and others talk about when we say don't play the wizarding game.
Yeah, I don't. This is something that she's been saying over and over again. I pre-watched this because I really wanted to understand where she was coming from. And she uses the phrase, don't use the tools of the oppressor, quite frequently. And I don't get
Oh no, you're not being negative. I see this like as a positive encouragement to work on a thing that needs working on, you know? I don't think it's negative at all. In fact, I think it's very positive to say you sound a bit breathy. Then I hear it and I can work on it, you know? So I think it's a positive thing. Trans Voice Lessons is a great channel.
what she means. This is a video game. This isn't the platform. Like, this isn't going to make transphobia worse in the world by playing the game. And regardless if people play the game or not, the takeaway from J.K. Rowling will be that she's in the right.
It's not that you are a bad person or a bigot if you do. But what
It actually, we actually see this bear out a little bit with Biggest jumping on the boycott, mocking it. Like, we can sadly see this in action a bit. Yeah, don't use that. The harassment and dogpiling was extremely bad.
it's doing is not actually supporting trans people. and it's not being an active ally or accomplice to the transgender community, even if you do use it to try to do good things.
Also, wouldn't that apply to Twitter in a more literal sense? One thing that's weird to me is, where's all the outrage with Activision Blizzard? Where's all the outrage with Activision Blizzard? With like the sexual harassment scandals. If you're using the same logic here, you are literally supporting misogyny and harassment against women.
This is a fair question to ask on Keffals' part, by the way, because Activision Blizzard, I would like you to remember, what has been embroiled with huge scandals, with huge controversy. A person has ended her own life because of the harassment in Activision Blizzard, you know? So I think this is a fair point to make. Although one could also call it whataboutism, because there might very well be people that did the boycott and also do not play any Activision Blizzard games. That's all the same, right?
If you buy or play an Activision Blizzard game, I don't understand, like, why the hyper focus on the one specific game that also happens to be a culture war talking point.
We play, we fight on our terms, not theirs. And a lot of people said this to Hassan, and good on him, he decided not to do the stream, which I think is a correct thing, but a few things have happened in the discourse after that fact.
I think it's a mistake. I think Hassan should have went along with the stream, and I think he should have earned like $1 million or something.
First, people have said Hassan was bullied into...
I'm not sure if Keffals, well, maybe. I think the point is fair enough, but I wasn't really saying it's fair enough as a response to Jessie in particular. You know? Does that make sense?
Not playing the game by...
Okay. She did also reach out in DMs.
Titan Uranus.
I'm gonna keep that
Titan
private.
Uranus.
But I don't understand why she did this, where she puts out the 5-hour video and says she'll never cover it again, and then she does a call-out video. Like, I really like her. I respect her. It just feels really weird to me.
Transgender people. I'm sure many people were assholes to Hassan during this, some of them quite possibly being trans, and wanted to react vitriolically at him for his initial impulse to play the transphobic game to help trans people. And that really sucks, because...
Yeah. I forgot about this. In the tweet that I made, I did not say trans people. I said it's really embarrassing that people decided to bully Hassan. Because it's not all trans people doing this. It's also woke scolds doing this.
I think Hassan should have went through with playing the game. I truly believe so.
People who really want to rack up good ally points.
People have said Hassan was bullied into not playing the game by transgender people. I'm sure many people were assholes to Hassan during this, some of them quite possibly being trans, and wanted to react vitriolically at him for his initial impulse to play the transphobic game to help trans people. And that really sucks, because his intention was good. Don't harass streamers for playing the game. His intent was a good one, his hope was an earnest one, his desire was a good one. We don't use the tools of the oppressor to fight oppression. Oppressors harass. Oppressors view things in binary and essentialist terms and want to create antagonism. And they want us to do the exact same thing to each other. While we fight oppressors, while not harassing them, we don't do that to each other.
This is important. There is no way to be a AAA game studio and not be some amount of evil. That's right. That's right, Obsessive Orange. I think the most consistent person on this is James Stephanie Sterling, and we will get to Stephanie Sterling's opinion on this as well, right?
We create dialogues. We work with our community and between communities in kindness, and don't essentialize one's actions, but create meaningful conversations with each other based on the understanding that we are imperfect people imperfectly fighting a horrid system that hurts us all.
It really feels like she's trying to talk for the trans community in the video in a way that
Keep in mind that criticizing Hassan for playing the video for charity is also a form of essentializing someone's action.
makes me really uncomfortable. I think I'm just disappointed, honestly. Because I've talked to her before on this. And this isn't going to do anything. This is incredibly liberal. And that's what I mean when I said earlier that for some reason... You're sure Jessie was subtweeting me? Let me see. Activists who are viewed as leaders within their communities always need to remember that their job is not to build their own platform, but to advocate for their communities and inspire them to keep fighting and moving forward, as well as work with other communities in solidarity.
Yeah, and I think part of that is building the capital for the trans community, right? To be able to help people move from unsafe states when the time comes. Like when a state becomes, in the US for example, too dangerous for a person to live and they don't have the means to move, for us to have a war fund, so to speak, to be able to say, oh, that's okay, we have raised tons of money from the transphobic game, so we can get you settled down in a safer state. Does that make sense? I think it makes perfect sense personally that we should start thinking in those terms. Right? What do you think? Don't you think that considering the situation we are in, we should start thinking in those terms, you know?
I hate this. I hate this a lot. And I've been...
Because there's a lot of talk of the trans community must arm itself. But I also think that we should start seriously talking about the fact that the trans community should build actual capital for itself. That is my opinion.
been saying this over and over again. I am not a leader in the community, and not every trans person who gains any sort of platform has to be a leader in the community. I cannot represent all trans people. This isn't something that should happen, but this is something that always happens. And then because they elect you against your will, suddenly they feel that they can hold you to account. Yeah, the trans cancel doesn't actually exist. I want to go back a bit.
Play the transphobic game to help trans people, and that really sucks because his intention was good. Don't harass streamers for playing the game. His intent was a good one, his hope was an earnest one, his desire was a good one. We don't use the tools of the oppressor to fight oppression. Oppressors harass. Oppressors view things in binary and essentialist terms and want to create antagonism. And
I actually don't agree. I think we do use the tools of the oppressors to fight the oppressor, right? I will give you the simplest possible example, right? I will give you the simplest example of using the tools of the oppressors to fight the oppressor, the oppression, right? If there's a bunch of people that are being oppressed by a group of people with firearms, then I think it is more than fair enough for the people that is being oppressed to wrestle the guns away from the people that oppress them and to use those guns to defend themselves against the oppressors. That is actually directly using the tools of the oppressor to fight oppression. You know? I think when you fight against oppression, there are no good and bad tools to use to fight. You fight with anything that you have in your disposal. You use any means necessary to move even an inch in the direction that you want to move, right? Because raising money on the back of the Potter game would make the trans community more, give the trans community more money and by extension more power. And as things are right now, we have nothing, right? Like, true, but I don't agree with the sentiment that we cannot use the tools of the oppressor, you know? Like, I've been talking about the example this entire time, right? Like, yeah, exactly. There are some methods that simply don't work, but for things that work, there's no reason not to use them. Right.
They want us to do the exact same thing to each other. While we fight oppressors, while not harassing them, we don't do that to each other. We create dialogues. We work with our
Okay. 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 I think I understand what Jessie was trying to say here. Okay. Okay. What Jessie was meaning to say wasn't that we don't use the tools of our oppressors, as in using the game to gain anything for the trans community. What Jessie meant when she said we don't use the tools of our oppressor was we should not use harassment as a tool in our toolkit. Okay, yeah, that's fair enough. I misunderstood. I think I misunderstood the. I think I misunderstood what was being said here. Like she said that we shouldn't harass. Like yeah, that's harassment is indeed not the tool that we should be having in our arsenal, and that is indeed a tool of the oppressor, right? Fair enough. I misunderstood. Right, okay. Okay, fair enough.
community and between communities in kindness. And don't essentialize one's actions, but create meaningful conversations with each other based on the understanding that we are.
I do wish we actually did this. But the
Yeah, fair enough. But I think that it's still fair to use the game itself as a tool to fight the oppressor. So I think both of these things are true, right?
hyper focus on this one game is really fucking insane. This isn't going to help the trans community. The boycott already failed. And all it's doing is...
Actually, a Polish activist has made an interesting point. She has said that the boycotting reality never actually materialized, that the support for it was so low that such few people actually did it, and in such an limited form, that the boycott has not actually materialized. But that's a whole different topic, right?
All it's doing is making the game more popular. Later on, I'm pretty sure that Jessie starts talking about Celeste. Let's just fucking get to it.
Are imperfect people imperfectly fighting a horrid system that hurts us all. Also, by framing the discussion as if trans people bullied him by saying that that was the overriding thing, which may even be...
I didn't say this. This is like this is very condescending, but also I didn't say it was just trans people. She uses my tweet in specific and then goes off about the tweet as if she's addressing a lot of people. She said trans streamers, but she only put my tweet.
Completely true. It's ignoring the valid critiques that were being made, like the ones that I hopefully articulated earlier. And it frames the
There was no
discussion as
organized
building a
boycott.
resentment
That's true.
against the marginalized, against trans people. It frames trans people as the aggressors in this entire situation, as if we're the hateful, hurtful ones, when in actuality, we're the ones being harmed in all of this. In fact, it's also very important to point out that one of the biggest right-wing disinformation campaigns about transgender people is that we're all bullies trying to control what you say or do.
And they canceled her because she said in an interview, and this is not exactly what she said, but effectually, she said gender was a fact. And then the trans community got mad as they started calling her a TERF. I didn't even know what that was. But I know that trans people make up words to win arguments.
The way that you can tell who holds all the power in a society is by who you can't make fun of, right?
That's right. So,
Okay, so she starts us off by saying trans streamers. You should think she's more addressing Hassan now. The weird thing is that when she's addressing Hassan, she's talking about Hassan like Hassan is part of the trans community. I found that very odd.
I think today, what we want to focus on is not, it's not to sort of judge or focus too much on individual content creators, but we will try to do the broader discourse, right? About the thing, what we can do to make the situation a bit more positive overall, right? Have the meaningful discussion that people have said that we should be having after socialists. Want to see my Natsir that meme? After the segment, okay? After the segment. Okay. So basically,
I can't tell who this is actually.
we will skim this video a bit more. And then we will go to the few other videos because we have a couple of other videos to discuss, right?
Addressed to. It feels very mixed.
Okay,
his
well,
speech is violence, their violence is speech. See how that works?
During this time. But we don't, as activists, do things because people were dicks or because things are awful all the time. We don't be reactive. We be proactive. And being proactive means realizing you don't need the wizard game to do a transgender charity stream. You can just do a transgender charity stream. The wonderful video essayist Jacob Geller did one actually late last year playing sword video games and raised thousands of dollars. Hell, the most effective trans charity...
Okay, this is the worst argument because the reason for these charity streams becoming popular and raising a lot of money is because of an event that is the catalyst for it.
right.
The biggest trans charity streams, mine included, like it's up there in the top 5. They're reactive. They happen after some sort of big thing that has a lot of people scared. So the idea of using Hogwarts Legacy because it was such a controversial thing and a big talking point as a way to raise money for charity is really smart. If you were to just
True.
throw together
That's
a
right.
random charity stream and play
That's
a game
right.
that's really old that no one really cares about, there's no controversy around it,
That's right.
it's not going to do as well.
That's right.
I don't even think you could raise like 1/3 the amount.
Charity stream that I'm personally aware of was of Donkey Kong 64, a game that is decades old at this point. You can just do a transgender charity stream. You don't need to play any specific game.
The problem of this is that not many people that are quote unquote neutral, normie, or whatever word you want to use will take part in such a charity, if that makes sense. Oh, Sister Rose, you would need to rewind and look back to see what my take on it is. Like, I've been giving my take for a while now. You know, it's a whole segment. I have actually made a whole segment. Like, the reactive part to a video is just like a part of the segment.
In fact, even better, you can support not only a transgender charity stream, but a transgender artist at the same time.
And I think, again, I will repeat that as it might be a good idea to support a trans game creator, but do you know, as I've said before, I think it would be an even more good idea to stream the Wizard game, earn a lot of money, and then support the trans creator with the money to create a better game than they otherwise might have, you know? This voice practice, because I'm doing a voice that is more less falsetto, right? Less falsetto.
You can use your platform to play a game by a transgender person that others may not even have heard of. For example, Celeste comes to mind.
And you could push out some more other games while playing the Wizard game, that's true.
Tell Me Why also is a game that has transgender artists and actors within it. Bloodborne PSX, the indie free Bloodborne PS1 demake, is even better too. Give attention to the indie creator of Bloodborne PSX, who is a transgender woman who made that game out of a passion and desire to learn to be a better creator.
No, but no one knows about what this game is.
It's true. No one does know what this game is. I should play it in the future, by the way.
There's no hype around the game, and these are old games. I don't understand this mentality. Like, if you want to do like a really big successful charity stream, you need to generate a lot of hype around it. And
Yeah, that's right. You do. You do. That is the cold reality of the situation.
do not believe that you're going to be able to do it with a bunch of indie games and a bunch of
Yeah.
games that are several years old.
Yeah.
And it's also like specifically like what I said earlier with Hogwarts Legacy being this controversial.
And who wants to go on to do more cool projects beyond just Blood.
Keep in mind, we will watch an Asmongold video later, and Asmongold did not know what this game was, you know? Asmongold thinks that they are talking about the regular Bloodborne.
Born demakes. And I'd honestly, by the way, recommend No Clip Gaming's wonderful documentary about her, by the way. Imagine if Hassan, one of the biggest streamers out there right now, streamed her game while doing a trans charity stream, gave her attention, and inspired other streamers to do the same. Would it be better numbers than the Wizard game numbers? Maybe, maybe not, probably not. But it would be doing things on our terms. Imagine Hassan streaming that game. It might help change the course of her career completely in a positive way. It would enable her and help a transgender creator be able to make more wonderful, beautiful things and put those beautiful things out in the world for other trans people to resonate with and other people who aren't trans to find.
Yeah, but then again, think about this. Wizard game charity that would bring in, let's say in Hassan's case, $1 million would help us support that creator and many more people, you know? Do you know what I mean?
Find and discover.
Asmongold is kind of a reactionary, but he is a representative of the quote-unquote regular person in many people's eyes. That is a reality, which is why we will look at his reaction to this as well. Because he is conservative, but he also is considered as like a regular person by many regular people, you know?
And see what trans people can do. And I want to see those things that she can make, what she has to say. And all of that would be done while doing a charity stream for trans people. But maybe some of you out there are like, look, those games are awesome, but they're too small. The wizard game is trending right now and relevant. Twitch will eat that up. We need to play a trending game. And okay, if that's your argument, I got you there too. Play Last of Us Part 2. That's a video game that is relevant right now.
This isn't relevant. This game is 5 years old. This is not a relevant game. And there's no controversy around it.
Now,
Not anymore.
because of the, I think, record-breaking HBO TV show. It's a video game that stars numerous queer actors and characters, including a transgender one played by Star Trek's own Ian Alexander, who is boss, by the way, especially in that game. And the game was also made with several trans developers behind the scenes, including at least one that I know of in a lead developer role. And there might be
I should play this game, but I don't have it.
more. And that's not even to mention that the TV show that is relevant right now stars Bella Ramsey, who is non-binary, and Pedro Pascal, who is one of the most adorable human beings of all freaking time, and also a vocal ally to the trans community, who himself has a transgender family member. Play that game. It's just as trending and relevant as the, wizarding one.
No, not really. If it was just as trending, as relevant, then it would be close to Harry Potter game on Twitch, and it's not. You know? You know?
Right now, as I said, I'm in an airport, and sorry for the terrible noise and weird cuts because the speakers have been coming on. But the reason I'm here is because I'm traveling to Los
Yeah. It's missing the point. I really do respect Jessie, but I feel like the point is being missed.
Okay.
But I don't know who she's talking to.
sadly can't be reclaimed. It is a tool for them. It is their terms now, their language now. Let's not try to claim their tools to fight them. Let's make our own and share them with each other. Oh, and speaking of which, the download link to Bloodborne PSX is in the down below, and it ain't $70. That's money you could instead then use to donate using the charity links that I also put down below. And by doing that...
This is like the problem, right? Because doing this keeps it an in-community thing, right? And the thing that even like the Keffals has pointed out is that if you generate hype, if you make a big event, then you involve people that are not part of the community, if that makes sense, right? And if you involve people that are outside of the community, then you can just make more things happen by default. Do you understand? Right? Does that make sense? We cannot rely just on the inside of the community when it comes to funding, charity, fundraising, etc. We need to create we need to attract a wider amount of people to help with fundraising and other efforts, you know? It cannot be a small clique that just gives each other money, if that makes sense, right? Because that won't work. Like, that's not a sustainable model. I will try to see the most relevant parts.
It starts.
Nah, I don't care. It's stupid. Harry Potter is stupid, and it's about time someone said it was bad, because nobody in the history of ever has ever suggested that Harry Potter is bad. I'm a trendsetter. No, but it is stupid though, right? We're supposed
I always knew that Harry Potter was stupid.
to believe that wizards in the wizarding world is so much superior to the muggles, right? We've got phones. They use owls. Chuds. Right? If fucking Hagar the Horrible, right, bicycled into my...
Actually, the thing that I always liked more when it comes to fantasy books was the Discworld from Terry Pratchett, and Terry Pratchett was not a transphobe.
fucking house and went, oh, you're a wizard, Stephanie, I'd probably be excited at first. I'd be all, oh, that's brilliant, Hagar the Horrible. How do we go? Am I going to go in a car? What? No! We don't ride cars in the wizarding world. We fly about on flippity-doos. What's a flippity-doo? Well, first of all, you got to get yourself an 8-legged one. We're not going to get on. Right, I insist on bringing my...
I have never watched a single Harry Potter movie.
3DS, Hagar. Have you got wall charges? What's wall charges? Oh dear. Okay then, so what do you do for entertainment? Oh, it's brilliant. We eat sweets that make you do elephant noises. Fucking what? And what is the shit with the all flavour beans?
Oh my God.
Right? I could, right,
My God.
get a McDonald's, or I could eat bonbons that taste of literal sick and mucus. And we're supposed to think that this is charming and quaint. Well, it's not. Oh, Hagrid, how do we get to school? Well, first of all, you gotta go to King's Cross Station. Even if you're already in the wizarding world, you gotta get out of it and then run it first into a fucking wall.
What?
This is bollocks,
I'm sorry,
right?
what?
If I were there,
I'm sorry, what?
If I were there, I'd sort it all the fuck out, right? I wouldn't bother with the fucking wands they've got at Gringotts, right? Oh, what wand have you got, Stephanie? Is that a dragon heartstring core? No, it's a gun. And it's only got one spell. Bang! That's your Voldemort problem taken care of. Bang, bang! That's the fucking snake.
Two for the snack.
It's long, innit?
Did you mean to call Oliver
There's actually a video called Harry Potter with Guns.
Gringotts?
I don't fucking care. I don't care what the one shop is.
I recommend anyone to read the Discworld. It's good. And the games were good as well while we're at it. The Discworld games.
Olivia Newton-Johns. I don't care that the one shop is Olivia Newton-Johns. I don't give a fuck. I didn't even want to do this episode. I've known it's coming for a year, but I don't want to have to talk about fucking Hogwarts, right? I made my peace with the Harry Potter series. I made my peace a long time ago. But it's inevitable. It's here, and we've got to talk about it. The fucking wizard game. Warning, of course, for what you're about to see. There's going to be a lot of transphobic rhetoric that I have to show you in order to talk about some of this shit. So, let's talk about J.K. Rowling. Let's talk about Hogwarts Legacy. And let's talk about how allyship really works.
Okay. Let's talk, Stephanie. Let's talk. Big boobs.
J.K. Rowling is a transphobe.
True.
This is a fact.
Yeah.
It's a fact I've never seen disputed in good faith, only
True.
challenged by fellow transphobes who have a pre-baked line since these people read from the
Like Putin actually tried to dispute it and defend J.K. Rowling, which should tell you a lot.
same script. What did she say exactly that's transphobic?
Everything.
Rowling couches her hatred in plausible deniability, but her daily obsessive takes on us, her constant comparisons of trans women to men, her verbatim repetition of gender-critical talking points makes her feelings clear.
True.
She follows, is best friends with, and outright claims to be one of the many prominent...
It's because I'm doing voice training. I'm trying to train my... Actually, I'm trying to be less falsetto. I'm usually falsetto, and now I'm trying to not be falsetto, if that makes sense, right? Does it make sense or not? I'm not a singer. Do I sound like a singer? I'm trying not to be falsetto now. My usual voice is in falsetto.
and
Oh my
TERFs,
gosh.
trans-exclusive radical feminists, these days rebranded to gender criticals.
Hitler.
Her slide into open fascism as a result has been horrifying.
Right.
She is a fan of Matt Walsh, a fascist so into fascism that he self-describes as one, and has made a career from accusing LGBTQ+ people of the very pedophilia he himself seems to be a fan of. She's liked tweets from the abjectly abhorrent Libs of TikTok account, a notorious right-wing platform that outs queer people.
I didn't even know that J.K. Rowling liked the Libs of TikTok. Gosh.
And is used to organise attacks against drag shows as well as threats against hospitals. She retweets unscientific drivel by queerphobes like Baroness Nicholson. She stands with Maya Forstater, who, after losing her job at a progressive organisation over demeaning anti-trans comments, has dedicated her life to combating trans rights. She once sent accidental transphobic profanity to a 9-year-old girl after pasting a comment from an anti-trans website she was reading and copying at the time. She called criticism of this censorship and authoritarianism.
I'm sorry, what did she do to a 9-year-old? What did she do? I have to look this up. A reminder that J.K. Rowling tweeted profane and transphobic rhetoric to a child on Twitter. Wow. I wonder what she wrote. They didn't show it here.
At the time, she called criticism of this censorship and authoritarianism, seeming to defend her right to rope kids into her obsession. And
What
she
the
is
hell?
obsessive. Scroll through her Twitter and you'll find that she thinks about trans people all day, every day. She herself has fought against Scotland's gender recognition reforms, scared...
This is so wild. So, are you saying that I sound like a guy? Are you saying that I sound like a bodybuilder? Are you saying that I sound like a bodybuilder guy? No. Please don't say that. I don't sound like a bodybuilder, right?
Mongering and spreading outright lies about a law that would simply make being trans a tiny bit easier. She still has the nerve to act offended at accusations of phobia while literally campaigning against our basic rights and legal dignity. At first, she tried to keep up the mask of someone who supports trans people but just has concerns and wanted to protect women's spaces.
That has not aged well, has it?
Long-time gender-critical dog whistle. She claimed her liking of transphobic tweets was just her fingers slipping on it.
I sound like Morgan Freeman? What? What are you saying? What are you trying to tell me? I sound like Morgan... I sound like Morgan Freeman? The one from the famous movie Lean on Me? I'm sad now.
And now she's an ardent supporter of Helen Joyce.
While we're trying to get through to the decision makers, we have to try to limit the harm. And that means reducing or keeping down the number of people who transition. Every one of those people is basically you know, a huge problem to a sane world. Like, if you've got people that, and whether they're transitioned, whether they're happily transitioned, whether they're unhappily transitioned, whether they're detransitioned, if you've got people who've dissociated from their sex in some way, every one of those people is someone who needs special accommodation. Every one of them is a difficulty.
Oh dear.
That's someone J.K. Rowling agrees
Oh dear.
with. Platforms is a friend of. Indeed, the people Rowling champions are fucking monsters. Here's GC figurehead Posey Parker telling cis men to patrol women's bathrooms on the hunt for trans women.
Talking
Yeah, that's wild to me. And cis women actually get hurt by those patrols as well.
about you dads who maybe carry, I think that's what you
Carry.
say. I'm so down with the American lingo. Maybe you carry,
American lingo.
maybe you don't. Maybe you consider yourself a protector of women. Maybe you're that sort of man. Maybe you have a daughter or a mother or a wife. Maybe you have a sister. Maybe you just have some friends. Maybe you just think women are human and you don't need any absolute connection with them to feel compelled to protect us.
What the hell?
I think you should start using women's toilets, men.
So much for keeping women's spaces for women. Of course, Rowling has tried to be smart. She doesn't record herself outright repeating the violent sentiment. No,
Of course, as I've said at the start of this stream, TERFs are extremely... There's no consistency to TERF logic. There's actually no logic to the TERF logic. Some of them will say that it's about the genes, but when disproven they will retreat to it being about reproduction. But when disproven on reproduction they will retreat to saying women are not just about reproduction, but then they will retreat to saying that it's about some essence, and then they will retreat to something else, and they will just juggle those things one after the other, you know? They will just retreat.
she contents herself with laughing at us.
That's how I saw him.
I will never tell this to anyone, so hopefully not with a transgender person.
This is such a pleasure.
Her slimy, cowardly behaviour goes back years. What's shown
My gosh.
in this video so far is just from stuff I started collecting in the past year because I knew this subject was inevitable. While she's been careful enough not to use
It's true. It's true. This topic was inevitable.
plainly direct hate speech, I don't think her deniability is close to plausible anymore. Look at the lies
It's not even close anymore, that's right.
she tells, the fascists she supports. Look at how much she talks about us. This is not what someone who doesn't loathe us does. This is the activity of someone with a genuine, deep-seated problem. You don't have to believe me. You can believe the Harry Potter cast members who've condemned her. You can
Yeah, it's apparent. It's very apparent that there's some deep, deep hate for the trans community, for trans people within J.K. Rowling. It's been visible for years now.
believe the historians who've catalogued a clear timeline of her descent into frothing bigotry. Or, if you'd rather, believe the Republican politicians who are actually citing her words in their
Hello, Saru. Hello.
anti-LGBTQ plus legislative efforts. Believe the virulently right-wing male supremacy group Honey Badger
Vaush is here. I've never expected to see Vaush on James Stephanie Sterling.
who call JKR their queen. Believe the photos of her at GC meetings. Believe the trans exclusionary women's shelter she set up to replace the trans inclusive women's shelter that her movement bullied and harassed out of operation. Or maybe just believe JK Rowling when she says it is dangerous to assert that any category of people deserves a blanket presumption of innocence.
Right.
She meant trans people, of course. But if she's right, then hell, she gets no presumption either. She is a TERF, loud and proud, Merry TERFmas, as she would say, and has said.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
I've been out as a trans femme now for over 2 years.
She looks nice.
With my coming out, much about the world around me has changed, be it through my new perspective or the difference in treatment I receive. There's a lot of good. I'm complimented by sweet old ladies who like my boots. I'm hit on by lesbians in Leeds. People in general say nice things about me and I feel more comfortable saying them back. Mostly, I'm more confident. I like who I am and how I look, things that weren't true before. But while good things happened, and to be honest, 90% of people really don't care if I'm trans or not, there are negatives. It's no secret what it did to my career. The way in which I'm criticised online changed. Suddenly I was diagnosed by commenters as mentally ill.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that happening. I do remember people saying, yeah, Sterling went off the deep end, broke mentally or something like that.
Age comes up a lot now, and my writing is tone policed, accused of being rude and screeching where it wasn't before.
Yeah.
But most of all, the world has become scarier. Scarier because of the right-wingers calling us all groomers and engaging in violence against us. Scarier because of the GOP and Tories scapegoating us and legislating our rights away with increased ferocity.
I doubt that James Stephanie Sterling will include this in the video because it's an extremely new thing. But the world has become a lot more scary because just recently, a 16-year-old trans girl was murdered, you know? And the media apparently was trying to hide the fact that the murdered girl was trans. So indeed, things are starting to get more and more scary and more violent.
Scarier because of media outlets like the BBC engaging in
It's not even just rhetoric anymore. A 16-year-old girl was murdered.
Transphobia is a matter of policy. Scarier because of the people JKR has emboldened with.
And this is the direct result of this rhetoric.
Her support, the gender criticals who preach eugenics and partake in phrenology to call for our eradication. Scarier because culturally and legally and
Rihanna, gay, yeah.
increasingly physically, we've been staring down the barrel of genocide for a long time.
That's right.
If you're not trans, if you're not so aware of how there's a new attack on us and our rights multiple times a day, every day, you won't quite know how bad it is. It's horrific. It's exhausting. We're less than 2% of the population, but we're called an epidemic. We're demonised in the press with extremely disproportionate coverage, and wealthy, powerful people like JKR can't stop thinking about us. Look, some people might be delighted to hear this from me, but I'm going to admit it plainly. I'm afraid. I'm really afraid. And every day, for months, I've seen a video game that directly benefits one of the largest sources of that fear promoted on the PlayStation Store and Xbox Live, hyped up by the gaming press and championed by a community with a long-running vein of transphobia running through it that goes back to the hateful protests against a bit-part trans NPC in Dragon Age Inquisition. Every day, a constant reminder that we as trans people have so few friends, so few allies. Every day, a reminder that the game industry and community are contemptuous. You know, as much as your gamers TM have tried, you've not owned me by posting the glowing review scores for Hogwarts Legacy or boasting about its sales success. That just proves what I knew, that people don't give a fuck. That's not new information. It's not a surprise. It's half of the course. That's all. Those of you actively trying to harass me over it aren't the actual offensive ones.
True.
No, the offense comes purely from the self-described allies who want to have it both ways, who want to play their wizard game and get really upset when criticised over it. Or the media outlets who justify their uncritical reviews by having the fucking nerve to compare our protests against them to fucking Gamergate. Transphobes you need to up your game, because none of you will ever be as insulting as a self-styled cis ally who wants trans people's permission to not take a stand. Oh, and I love how the same gamers TM who spent nearly 10 years calling game reviewers corrupt suddenly started trusting and touting them when a game they rallied around got 8s and 9s. Some of them even tried to twist Gamergate's ethics in game journalism pretext to defend outlets like IGN from criticism.
That's interesting.
IGN! Suddenly, the Ethics Brigade are standing for IGN, the Too Much Water website, the site whose credibility they've done nothing but meme. Way to prove that you've only ever wanted to be agreed with. You'll suddenly stop believing reviewers were paid off and attacked me when I posted what I'd heard from a Warner Brothers contact, that WB stacked the deck and only gave review code to outlets it trusted to give positive reviews. Like, that
happens a lot.
Wasn't even a shocking revelation. It's a known fact this happens. And
Yeah, it is well known.
Practice. I've covered the deck stacking elimination of wild card reviewers for years, but now I'm lying. Now game reviews are above board. Oh, by the way, I've never believed game reviewers are paid off. That's not what happened with Hogwarts. Reviews aren't high stakes enough that publishers are gonna bribe over it. No, the sad thing is that there doesn't have to be bribery. Search engine optimization is all outlets need to keep covering games as enthusiastically as possible. Hell, they wouldn't even refuse to cover Ubisoft games after all the sex abuse. They can't be trusted to do the right thing. While I don't think game critics outright lie, I think they have an incentive to not rock the boat, to do conspicuous things like, say, litter a Hogwarts Legacy review with so many negative statements, it sounds like shit, and then give it a 9 out of 10 regardless. From a general fear of controversy to wanting to avoid gamer boy harassment and, of course, maintaining a good enough relationship with publishers to keep having access, they've plenty of reason to go soft on big-name games. I left The Escapist in 2014 because parent company Defy Media refused to publish my review of Assassin's Creed Unity and jeopardized their relationship with Ubisoft. I'm famously blacklisted by Konami for being such—
Konami is now such a bad company. I don't even want to start with a whole stunlock that would be me ranting about Konami, okay? Don't get me into Konami.
A harsh critic. The PR company 47 told me EA wouldn't send me review copies because I'm a wild card. The only access I get in game—
But before we continue, I will say that my point stands, and that I do believe that raising money on the back of this game is the best way to support the community, you know? Do you know what I mean?
Gaming comes from sources acting alone that need anonymity because they're not allowed to talk to me. My standing in the industry, that is to say, no standing, is the result of doing everything my former peers are incentivized not to do. I burned every bridge I had for not wanting to play with deeply corrupt organizations, and I'm proud of it. I also acknowledge that I can afford to not play in that sludgy water. Most reviewers can't. I scarcely blame them for the system they're stuck in. I've been there, I know how it is, and I don't think reviewers are unethical so much as forced to compromise with unethical companies while in the thrall to the all-important SEO. They're not paid off, but as we've seen with Hogwarts Legacy and with how quickly they wanted to move on from mentioning Ubisoft and Activision's abuse in their game coverage, not many of them have any damn principles. Multiple times in the past few years, press outlets had opportunities to make a stand. They did not. So yeah, to the born-again Potter fans who spammed me with screenshots of IGN's big ol' 9, I'm not sure what y'all proved other than your own hypocritical opportunism. You'll be back to calling game reviewers SJW soon enough, won't you? I know I'm not changing any minds here.
True.
The bigots and Potter fans and people who just want to enjoy a video game made their decision. The allies who want to separate art from artists or hate JKR but just always wanted to Skyrim or Hogwarts made their decision. And regardless of intent, all of you look exactly the same to J.K. Rowling. See, while people have tried to justify Hogwarts Legacy by saying JKR had no direct involvement, that doesn't change the fact she makes direct money from sales. More importantly, it doesn't change the truly insidious aspect of Harry Potter's continued success. JKR takes it as explicit endorsement of her views. She thinks the success of Harry Potter means people agree with her, and she's said so before. There is no difference in hers or any other TERF's mind between the people who bought Hogwarts because they wanted a fun wizard game and the people spite buying it to demonstrate the powerlessness trans people already feel. Intent doesn't matter. You're all just supporters to her. You are all permission. This is why you aren't an ally if you buy Hogwarts Legacy. No, buying the game doesn't make you a transphobe, and I'm tired of hearing the self-martyring whinging about that. I'm not saying you're transphobic for buying Hogwarts Legacy. I'm saying you're not an ally. You handed that card in because you couldn't do the barest minimum. You couldn't make the simplest stand. It's not that hard to not buy a AAA video game. You chose a product over people, and in doing so you helped J.K. Rowling say things like this when asked how it feels to have alienated so many queer fans.
I read my most recent royalty checks and find the pain goes away pretty quickly.
That's what you do. You empower a fascist-supporting transphobe. Some of you celebrate that you've done it. Some of you wring your hands and excuse it. The result's the same. So enjoy!
I have thoughts about this. So I will share my thoughts after this message, alright?
Not a single one of you are under any obligation to refuse this game. I'm not demanding it of you, and I'm not going to say you're an inherently bad person for it. But I do not trust you. I can't count on you. Can't think you have our backs. I can't feel safe with you. And sorry, but you don't get to feel hurt by that. You get to enjoy your media product. I get to remember every digital storefront that took a Hogwarts sponsorship, every games journalist that promoted it, every platform and company that embraced it, and I get to remember that when Pride Month rolls around and the performative allyship begins. Your rainbow logos won't count for shit. It hardly needs to be said, but any of you who claimed you bought it to support the developers can especially get in the bin. Oh, they worked hard and should be supported. That's probably the dumbest attempt to lionize consumerism I've ever seen. I've seen this excuse so much, and I'm like, how dare you? How dare you lie to me so fucking brazenly? You don't buy games just to support developers, you buy them because you want to play them. Tell me, do you buy literally every single game that's ever made and released? If you're motivated purely by dev support...
That's not a strong argument.
That's what you do, right? Every game is developed by game developers, so why aren't you buying every game? Every single one? Get the fuck out of here with that blatant bullshit. Of course it's bollocks from a results standpoint too. The devs got paid already. They get paid for their work up front. Unlike JKR, they don't get royalty checks. They're not the ones supported by your purchase. She is. Warner Brothers is. Those are the beneficiaries. As we've discussed on this show before, game studios mostly live or die regardless of the success of one game, and thanks to the way public companies work, they're sometimes hurt by it, as layoffs often follow an influx of revenue to maintain the illusion of financial growth. Corporations don't operate based on customer support. If they did, we'd get more single-player games and fewer ones based around financially exploiting a minority of whale players. You're not supporting the devs that tossed in a token trans character called Sir Owen Orion, explicitly to try and steer us all away from the subject of J.K. Rowling. Support wasn't even your intent. That's a retroactive justification for something you were always going to do. And honestly, fuck any of you who've come at me in the past few months with that excuse or any other excuse that attempts to paint your purchase of a video game in a noble light. You're not noble. You're not a fucking hero. Play the game if you must, but don't you dare tell me you did it for any reason other than self-service. Don't you ever look to me for validation, expect me to assuage your guilt, toss hypothetical scenarios at me that you think allow you to have it both ways. Just play your fucking wizard game. How you feel about that is not my problem. You clearly decided how we feel isn't yours. Cis feelings aren't our responsibility. It's so telling that the only real coverage of alleged harassment in games media this week has been about cis streamers getting upset at some mild pushback. It's a really old play. Whenever trans people advocate for themselves, we're painted as unreasonable bullies. Unsurprisingly, I've been asked to answer for the alleged harassment because minorities are always expected to take responsibility for each other. You know what? I'll answer it when I can go a day online without someone saying something truly vile about me, when I can stream without harassment myself, when I can post a selfie without being called a man or getting some other derogatory comment, when what trans people go through gets as much attention in the press, and when I feel people give as much of a shit about all of us as one cis person. If all that happens, I'll prostrate myself before you on behalf of all transes everywhere. Until then, this'll do.
Checked out the big one that they're hailing as like the innocent streamer who got harassed off of the live stream. And what I have learned is that y'all genuinely think that accountability and basic criticism is the same thing as harassment and discrimination. Here we have somebody saying OMG transphobia because obviously they think that it's a big joke.
Right.
And then, well, that's kind of disappointing. Then we have yikes. Then we have, yeah, I don't care how much you donate to Trevor Project. I'm done. Unfollowed so fast. Sorry, can't support this. Goodbye. Visions of video games, guys. And here we have the comments they just let slide on through. Like, Rowling is a good person. Didn't have a problem with that one. And then she had to step away. And then she came back, and then they continued to stream for another 6 hours. And here's the thing, it wasn't even a comment that made her cry from what I could see. It was her and her boyfriend fighting this imaginary angry trans person and her getting more and more overwhelmed at her defending herself against somebody who wasn't there.
Boycotts don't work. I said that about, I don't know, 10 years ago, and boy, people love flinging that one at me lately. I think there's still some truth to that, though looking back, it really is just what people are using it for. Permission to not take a stand. Kinda like how people have appropriated no ethical consumption under capitalism. Regardless, I know that in this case a boycott would never have worked. It's Harry Potter, and people...
Yeah, the boycott would never have worked.
People don't care enough about trans people to pay JKR's crusade much attention. A boycott is not what I wanted nor expected. What most of us wanted was to simply point out why supporting a Hogwarts Legacy is harmful, to at least get good people to think about the implications, to be heard on this, and to...
Okay, so we have watched this video, and I will give my thoughts now. So my thoughts on what Stephanie Sterling has said are as follows. The sad reality is that the boycott has not worked. The game is successful. The game is the most successful game on Twitch right now. So, I think, once again, I will repeat that the best thing that one can do is to earn money for the trans community through this game, you know? That is the reality of it. Giving more money to J.K. Rowling through this game will not make a big difference in her life, but earning a lot of money for the trans community will make a huge difference for the trans community. Does that make sense? Does that make sense what I'm saying? So yeah, in fact I think it is a good idea to stream the game to get as big audience as Rowling as possible. Rowling, get it? And to earn as much money for the trans community as physically possible. You know? That is my opinion. And I sincerely hope you agree. Right? Now let's go to a representative of the so-called normies. Right? Ready? Let's watch this video now.
Game, sorry.
Let's see how things look in the quote-unquote normie world. Asmongold is a very big streamer, a very successful streamer, and it's fair to say that he represents the voices of a so-called regular gamer, okay? Does that make sense? The voice of the normies, so to speak.
Me for supporting Hogwarts Legacy. I didn't even know I was getting harassed. I had no idea about this. Yeah, I come back, I'm like, I read this, and I'm like, I see this video, I'm like, wait, I'm getting harassed, I'm being attacked. Wait, what? I thought everybody agreed with me. I have no idea.
Couple of updates when it comes to Hogwarts Legacy. We have the user scores now over on Metacritic. 9.1 for PlayStation 5. For Xbox Series X, we're at a 9.0.
For context, Asmongold here is watching a pretty big bigot that is going to proceed to mock the boycott, right? This is one of the negative effects of the boycott.
Pretty good, actually. These are great ratings.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
And then on the PC, we're at an 8.4, which I think is actually fair because it has some... The
PC does have slowdown issues.
game has some problems on
yeah,
PC.
Yeah, it does.
I played it on PC quite a bit. Well, at least 3 or 4 hours worth. And there were a little bit of problems, especially with the frame rate here and there.
Mm-hmm.
They need to fix the game ASAP. However, it's still a really good game. And the user scores are reflecting that. So I think this is going to be a pretty big game this year. I think this will probably be up for whatever game awards there are this year. This is a surprise hit.
I don't think it's a surprise at all. People knew this game was going to be good whenever it got announced. Like, I don't know if this is a Game of the Year game. Like, is Hogwarts Legacy going to be played in the same way that God of War 2018 is still played? I don't know. I hope that this game doesn't win Game of the Year. Not because of this game, but because I know that something can be so much better.
All right.
However, it's still got a lot of content.
It's like intro. We'll see the moment when the thing itself will start to be, you know, discussed.
Controversy, and we're going to get into that.
It doesn't make it a bad game.
As you know, the game is officially the #1 single-player game ever on Twitch with 1.28 million peak concurrent viewers at launch.
It's always easy to claim these numbers whenever you have drops. For example, if Elden Ring had drops, it would probably have that many players too. So it's like...
So basically, drops is what happens when on Twitch, certain streamers, when you keep watching them, you get items for the game just by watching a streamer play that game. It's an incentive to watch streamers play a game on Twitch.
I don't think you can compare a game launch with and without drops.
Pretty big deal. Took down Cyberpunk, which was the former single-player #1 game. But that's over with. It's now Hogwarts Legacy. They can't be taken away. So thank you, boycotters and activists. You helped make this happen with your constant tears, your constant...
Of course, I don't really agree.
I'm gonna be honest, I think most people didn't even pay attention to that shit at all. Like, they don't even know what's going on. That's the truth. It's like, because if you're not on Twitter, you don't even know about this. I think the biggest reason, like, people that are, like, reflexively supporting the game because other people are not supporting it, I feel like that's, like, such a small percentage, it's not super relevant.
Yeah, I think that the boycott is might have failed, but I also think that a certain group of reactionaries really is trying to overblow the effect that the boycott has had on the game's sales, right? So I would agree here with Asmongold that I don't think that the boycott has had any real impact on the game selling better or performing better, you know?
The game trend, even right now, you can see it's trending in real time. Hogwarts. They've taken Hogwarts Legacy out of it because they think, well, we'll just call it Hogwarts, and that won't help the game. People are stupid. There's more. Let me show you some tiers, and then we'll get into the Asmongold stuff.
Okay, that's the important part.
We've got this. This was funny. This is a lot of people commenting on this right here. So this tweet kind of blew up for this person. It said Harry Potter here.
I've really, really, really got to say that, man, if you like Bloodborne and you say that you should play Bloodborne instead of Harry Potter,
see, it's like people said that people know. Someone said that people know what Bloodborne PSX is, but Asmongold is a pretty huge streamer, and he didn't understand that like some version on the PlayStation 1 is being discussed here. He just thinks that it's about the regular Bloodborne, you know? So it's not really all that obvious that someone made an indie version of Bloodborne for the PSX.
oh man, that is just, oh wow.
You know?
Where did that come from? The Last of Us 2? I don't know about The Last of Us 2. I like Bloodborne, but what the fuck? The two games are not the same. Bloodborne was made by From Software. From Software has no, like, they make video games, okay?
Yeah, but point is that many people don't know, right? Many people just don't know. I've never heard of Bloodborne PSX before before covering this topic, you know? This is like this is the first time that I'm hearing about Bloodborne PSX, you know?
Okay, they don't talk about these issues. It's not about their games. But Bloodborne is like fucking super derivative of Lovecraft. And Lovecraft, this guy is like was a massive fucking racist. So it's like, how, like, yeah, so like you have a game that's completely built off of a narrative, or not narrative, like a world that was created by a huge racist. It's really kind of an exact thing.
So this tweet kind of blew up for this person. It said Harry Potter with my childhood. I loved it so much I sleeved out my whole arm around 2012.
Notice how the bigoted YouTuber is trying to mock the person here.
I'm honestly embarrassed about it now. F J.K. Rowling and your turf game, and F your excuses, allies.
Okay.
Her whole arm is a Harry Potter tattoo. Oh, no. And then she says, go play.
Like, credit where credit is due for Asmongold not to sort of join in the mocking of a person, right?
Play all these games.
Yeah, I only played
Instead.
Bloodborne. That was the only one.
Well, to be fair, some good games here. Bloodborne,
Yep.
Celeste. Great games. I agree.
Like, I will give credit to Asmongold for not joining in the cringy mocking, you know?
But not enough reason for me to not play the Wizard game. Sorry. And then there's also stuff like this.
Okay.
I thought this was kind of telling. This person said,
Can we please stop making videos about somebody who gets 7 likes? Can we please stop this? Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, YouTube contributors, can we please stop this? Like, this is a person that has 7 likes. What are we doing here? And they have more quote retweets. And you know why? It's because people are all quote retweeting them, calling them stupid.
Like, I have to admit that I have to agree here, you know? That it's nonsensical to make a big deal, a big spectacle out of a person that's basically has 7 likes, as was just said on a tweet, that will not reach a huge amount of people, you know? Like, this is basically just making a spectacle from a person that does not have a big reach to begin with. Does that make sense? You know? So again, credit where credit's due, that Asmongold is sort of saying that it's not exactly the best thing to do, right?
Who cares? Like, who really? And you know, it's probably 6 likes because they liked their own tweet.
no, you do deserve your threats. Your ending yourself threats. You do deserve your suffering. You do deserve your abuse for playing this game. Wow.
Like, yeah, I think what Asmongold just said here is like, correct, right? Even if this message is horrible, the fact is that this person has 7 likes, and like, this message is not exactly reaching anybody, right?
Not really hiding anything there. Not really putting anything under the covers.
Does that make sense?
There, trying to hide or mask it.
Do you know what I mean?
No, just straight out saying KYS. That's quite the statement there.
To be fair, they're not explicitly saying to kill yourself. They're saying that you deserve for other people to tell you to kill yourself, which is probably why they didn't get suspended for this. This is a difference, and anybody could see this. However, it doesn't make it any better, but it is slightly different.
See how that works out? Oh, it got violated. It violated.
Oh,
Twitter's
well, never
rules.
mind.
Oh.
Well, too bad.
Damn, that's such an unfortunate thing.
I didn't read the bottom text.
But now, a huge streamer, Asmongold, gigantic streamer, huge following.
I mean, he is a pretty big streamer, yeah. True.
He's chimed in.
Not as big as me, but nobody, like, not many people can be as big as me. It's true.
By the way, he reacted to one of my videos. That was pretty cool. Thank you. I got a ton of subscribers out of that.
Thanks for making.
Jesus.
Awesome. So thank you.
We're doing it again.
He's been commenting on the Hogwarts Legacy thing, and pretty balanced guy, pretty chill guy, I think.
I agree.
His take is
true.
Basically, if you don't want to play the game,
I mean, he's been pretty chill here, so I guess, yeah. I guess.
Don't play it. If you want to play the game, play it.
Oh, I'll even go a step further. I think that I absolutely respect somebody for refraining to play the game based off of what they believe to be something that is not in line with their own personal values. I completely support somebody in doing that. Because you should never feel like you're compelled to make an unethical choice or something that is not morally in line with the way that you want to live your life. Even if it's something
Also
I disagree
says
with.
That the boycott is stupid, which I agree with, because they
Right.
never work. Boycotts never work. If anything,
They sometimes work. Like saying they never work is incorrect as well. Because there were some boycotts historically and recently that have actually worked.
honestly think there's been good examples of boycotts in history, but for the most part, like for this game, it's stupid and it's not going to work. In fact,
Well, then you cannot say that they never work, can you? Like you can't just say boycotts never work and 2 seconds later start saying that there are examples of boycotts working, right?
boycott in cases like this backfire.
Boycotts usually don't work whenever they're on massive products because so much of the amount of people that are consuming the products are outside of the space of people that are discussing them.
Right.
So that's why, for example, the Dungeons and Dragons boycott was a lot more effective, is because the Dungeons and Dragons community is much smaller, much more insular, and much more interconnected than the Harry Potter community.
Okay.
Harry Potter is so much bigger that you're never going to be able to get this message out. Even if people agree with it, 90% of people are never even going to hear it. Versus the Dungeons and Dragons boycott, if you compare that with that, like I would say like half of people hear it, like a third of people, like a massively larger percentage of people are going to hear it because of the type of community that it is and the size of community that it is and the media that it exists on.
Players, and more people play the game because of it. Especially now, making this game a culture war thing was really stupid to do.
What is your opinion, and?
It was really stupid to do. Because if anything, you know, who's really benefiting from it? Well, Warner Brothers.
I actually believe that no boycott was even organized in this case, you know? A very small amount of people on a fairly isolated platform did a thing, but I don't think that's like, I don't think a boycott has even happened in this case, to be honest. Right? Yeah, negatively affecting 100% of your community is different than only affecting a marginal amount. That is a good point, you know? That in the case of Wizards of the Coast, the thing that they wanted to do sort of affected a lot of people. And the Potter game doesn't even directly affect anyone. It's the transphobia behind the creator that affects a group of people, you know? I will say, right? That's another factor that to take into consideration. The Potter game directly doesn't actually affect anyone. It's the transphobia behind its creator that is affecting people, right? And in the case of Wizards of the Coast, the product did directly screw people over, a lot of people. So, you know, I guess that's a good point, right?
Is. But I mean,
yes.
This never had to happen.
Well,
this
we're
game would have
benefiting
been
from it too. We have
burger
content.
If it wasn't for these activists, it still would have been big. Don't get me wrong. This week it would have came out and been big, but
I don't think the boycott has boosted this game in a significant way at all. I don't think so. Personally,
I don't think it would have had the kinds of reactions that it's gotten, as far as, you know, all the attention and the sales that it's got. I know a lot of people that have bought this game just to buy it, to spite,
to say fuck you,
stupid a-holes that just want to run around.
I don't really think it's such a big number. I doubt it.
And make people miserable. But here's what he put on Twitter. Shocking to me that people think the way to protest Hogwarts Legacy is to bully and harass those who are playing, streaming it. No one likes this. You're not helping anyone. You're just being a piece of shit. Pretty.
I mean, I do think that if you're, instead of trying to bully or harass people, which is not really a productive or a good thing to do, just use this game as a vehicle to earn money for the community that you want to support. I think this is the best way to go about it, in my personal opinion, you know?
Pretty true statement there that he's saying.
Very true.
There's no lies detected here. It's true. No one
real.
likes this. You're bullying and harassing people over a game like this. Literally, someone saying to end your life.
I mean, yeah, that's great, but as Asmongold has pointed out before, this person does not really have any reach. This person is like someone that has that garners that a lot of people read, right? It literally says 7 likes, right? 2,500 views in total, right? It's not a giant message.
End yourself because you're playing a game, because you bought a video game.
This is very telling that the only example you have is a person with 7 likes, right?
This is an unhinged look. And to be honest, you're making the people that you're trying to protect and stand up for look bad in a lot of ways. And I'm not saying anything, I'm not trying to say anything negative about any groups of people here. But this is a really good example of being your own worst enemy. Because this behavior looks unhinged.
I agree with that. I think that the more people that you have that look like assholes, the less people are going to want to support you. Yeah, it's a huge factor.
Normal people are looking at this behavior and saying, what the WTF is going on? Why are these people crying and bullying people over a video game?
Should people say online? Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's keyboard warrior behavior.
So he got a ton of shit for this.
I mean, sadly, that is what ends up happening, right? That is what ends up happening. Which is why I personally think that my approach is the approach that we should be taking, okay?
I doubt he cares.
I didn't even know that it was happening. That's really the truth. I had no idea this was even happening. Like, this is the first that I have learned that I've been getting hate and shit for my tweet. Because I look at my quote retweets. Yeah, but it's like, okay, so somebody says, you suck, Baldy, and it has 40 likes. Okay. So what? Like, why am I? What? Who gives a fuck? Who cares?
Well, a lot of people are in here saying, "Suck my D and choke on it, you tiny bee."
Like, I don't care about that at all. Like, that's really the truth. Like, if somebody says this to me, it's like, oh, okay, that's fine. Yeah, I didn't even see this.
He wasn't even aware. He was not even aware of this was happening. Like, people around him are more sort of excited about it than Asmongold himself, you know?
Ice must be destroyed.
Ice? Wait.
This one says...
Wait, doesn't it have to do with, like... Isn't that like deporting people? Yeah, what the hell? Yeah,
Suck
immigration,
my D
yeah.
balls.
Suck
Buy this
my
game,
dick and
pirate
balls.
this game, or play this game in any capacity. Get out of my sight. Person says, eat a bag.
And really, like, look at this individual, right? Let me see. Can I go back a little bit?
Which one?
41 likes. I'm sorry, but this is just simply not relevant to me. I don't care. I don't need this person's approval, and to be honest, it seems like I don't want it.
Eat a bag of D's, you piece of S.
I love how, like, all of these insults they're just...
Keep in mind, this is the negative result that is being gained from all this. You know, this is not helping. This is not helping at all, right?
They're so they're like they're elementary school, like middle school, like level insults. Yeah, these are like 4th grade level thing. It's like 4th grade level thinking. Holy shit.
Big baby. I'm a big baby. Wow, big baby need binky.
Dude, this is fucking funny. Like, who types this out? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, what are you doing? Ironic? Yeah, it is.
You could just play the game. No one would know if you just played the game.
But they do know because I stream. So, but okay, that's fine.
But that's not enough. You need to announce it. Make a point about it. Playing
Right.
the game is good and morally correct, so you don't need to feel bad about it.
And nobody, like that's the point. He never said that playing the game is good and morally correct. Like, that's not actually something that he has said, I don't think.
You need to convince everyone you're a small being.
Bro, this guy's been on the internet for too long. Like, what does small being even mean? Like, I don't even understand, like, what... I thought that's what girls that were, like, really short and skinny would call themselves or something. Like, small being? Like, wait, what? Chronically? Yeah, bro, like, I don't even understand this. Small being is cute speak? What?
Like, I don't think this is good at all, right? Especially since the only sentiment that Asmongold is expressing in this tweet is harassing streamers is not good, you know? Like harassing people is not good. And to aggressively respond to a message like that is not great, you know? It is not great to see a tweet that says harassing others is not good and to aggressively respond to it. You know? Do you know what I mean? Like, do you know what I'm trying to say here?
Oh my god.
No, he's got the right take here. He's got the right take here.
Oh
Everybody
my, wow.
with any sense in their head is looking at how these people are acting and what they're doing and saying, what the hell is wrong with you?
Mm-hmm.
And I do feel bad for people that just want to be left alone and want to live their lives. They're not asking for these people to stand up and hero for them. They're not. And they're bringing more unwanted attention and unwanted drama to their door in their name. And that's the real sad thing here.
Thank you.
Because most of these people that are going
Thank you for understanding my feelings.
insane aren't even trans. The majority of them are woke white people who think they're being champions of social justice and that this shit is bringing their life meaning, and it's not.
It is, right? Yeah, it is. It's true. And yeah, no, it definitely is. And they're sitting there and they're like trying to help them out. They're like, don't worry, I'll save you. It's people that there's no, there's no civil war to fight. There's no, civil rights act to, to push. Like life is really good right now. People have more equality now than we ever have had before.
Of course, this is very divorced from reality. Anti-trans bills are being pushed all the time. Equality is not better than ever before. Look at what's happening in Florida, right? Like for trans people, things are not better than ever before. Equality for trans people is not better than anything before. Also, I don't think he has an American flag. I think it's a window.
And these people are left with a void in their mind. They're like, what am I going to do to prove it? And so instead of trying to just enjoy their life and, make their own way in the world, they have to invent new
Like, I can't say, like, I'm just gonna say that Asmongold is incorrect here. Like, there's a lot of very negative things happening to trans people at this very moment. Laws being pushed. Trump has made a whole speech recently about wanting to ban all trans healthcare outright. So I would say that in this regard, certainly he is being incorrect here, right? Do you know what I mean? So there's not exactly a void from not having anything happening, certainly.
Problems to fight. They have to invent new problems that are at the same level as the old ones, but they're just not there. Yeah, and they're not going to Ukraine either. That's not going to happen.
Damn, I'd love for people to care about this much about the growing loss of these rights across the Western world.
Yeah, see, this person has wrote about it, that there's like increasing push to take trans rights away.
And it's on and on. I mean, you see all of it right here. Look at this one. If you're a streamer and you get harassed for playing the dumb phobe game, I want you to know that you deserve it.
I mean,
I don't think that's... No. I don't think that's a message that you should push. I don't think that's a thing that you should even believe. Like, I think this is just wrong, There are better ways to go about supporting the trans community than saying things like this, right?
Read his name. Fisting Way? I wouldn't have even read the tweet. I just read the name. It's like, okay, never mind. That goes in the garbage. That's it. Yeah, this is a psycho. It's got to be a troll? No, it's not. Well, it is a troll, but it's not.
Okay. It seems that Asmongold has not gotten to Endwalker in Final Fantasy 14 quite yet. So the whole way thing is a reference to the, without spoilers, a group that lives in a place and they have a naming scheme ending in way, right? Singing way, writing way, and etc., right? This is where the fisting way basically came from. It's a Final Fantasy 14 reference.
Not a troll in that way.
This is just unhinged behavior. It's insane to me. But anyway, he's getting a lot of shit that he doesn't deserve.
I didn't
just
even
like
know.
Anybody else playing this damn game? It's insane to me. Anyway, I'll probably be.
The reason why I don't know is that like there are so many people that have been commenting on it, and like just like saying stuff. Like I've gotten so many notifications from this that I literally can't even keep up with all of them.
I see.
Like it's gotten like thousands of responses. Yeah, I can't read every single one of these. How could I possibly know that?
Streaming the game today, so if you want to come hang out, please join us. We'll be
Yeah, I
on
need
the
a
channel
personal assistant to
probably
read me
after
my
Friday
hate
Night
messages.
Tights,
Yeah,
I think would be a safe bet. Maybe as they're getting close to ending, something like that. If you come hang out, I will see you then. If not, thanks for watching. And
man,
leave a comment. Give me your thoughts on all this.
Let me link
also,
you guys
throw
this
a like
video.
up, share the video.
Give
Make
it a
sure
like
you still
right here.
subscribe if you're new. Hit that notification bell. Check out
Oh
my
my
Rumble
God.
and locals, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace. Make sure to check out my
Man.
locals. There's a link in the
So I
description.
guess we have heard.
It's a fun community that
I
I'm.
guess we have heard opinion of Asmongold in this. Some things I guess I agree with. Some things I disagree with. If there's anything that we can take from this video is that harassing other people is not exactly the correct move, right? It does not bring people the results that they think that they will get, right? Right. So that's done. Now we will move to one more video. One more video before we go to my sort of ending thoughts on the matter. Right? What do you say? It is going to be a debate that Vaush has had on the topic. There you go. Yeah, it wasn't planned. Hello. Hello, Maniac Hatter. I hope you're doing as well. As you can see, I'm doing a bit of voice training. I'm trying to be less falsetto today.
Possible for trans people to reproduce, but it's much harder than a cis couple.
So here, there's a person debating a Vaush on the boycott, debating Vaush on not joining the boycott, and overall, what it all feelings of this.
So a lot of it has to do with forms of bonding, forms of like affection, forms of just being there for each other. Sorry, I had to get some water.
Gotcha.
Now that we've discussed how like a lot of trans people use social reproduction, I wanted to ask, what do you think necessarily the goal for trans people was to boycott Hogwarts Legacy?
Their goal is probably to deprive it of attention and of revenue as a way of indicating a lack of public support for the positions held by J.K. Rowling.
Okay. If that's your earnest belief, then I could definitely see how a boycott like this would be completely ineffectual. And
wait, then what do you think its actual purpose was?
Well, yes, because I disagree with that purpose. You know what I mean? I don't think that.
Yeah, I don't like it's I really think that we all from the start should have gone through the route of doing charities through this game and building real capital for the trans community, you know? This would be something that would create real results. You know? Do you know what I mean?
That, like, that would have to assume that trans people think that we're dumb enough to actually believe Harry Potter as a franchise, as this huge franchise where millions of dollars is pumped into it, is going to be stopped by our, like, meager.
Also, as a side, I guess, Stunlock, I think it's not really helpful to argue among ourselves about what is or isn't selectivism, or trying to compete on who among us has done more activism or who among us has done more real life action. I think it would be more fruitful for us to, rather than to think what we can do now, right? What we can learn from the actions that have been done so far, how we can move forward to make the situation better for all of us, right? How we can all work together to get results and sort of move things in a positive direction, right?
You know, contributions. It's not about that. It's about it. This is about, it's for other trans people. It's not about any cis person. It's not about depriving J.K. Rowling her money. She's rich enough. She'll die rich. You know what I mean? It's not about that.
I've definitely seen people saying it. It's specifically about that. I mean, boycotts are traditionally for that purpose, to deny attention and money to the product or the company that they're talking. What other possible purpose could a boycott be for?
Well, so it's one of the same things that you did your whole supporting Biden thing over. So early on, when you were talking about how one of the reasons you support Biden is to reveal the ineffectual nature of the American democratic system. Is that correct, or am I misinterpreting?
Well, I thought Biden should win over Trump, and I think the left should care about electoral politics for sure.
Do you think electoral politics will be the way towards socialism?
They're a necessary component of winning the public support that would allow us to build socialism. Even if it's not the mechanism by which it is actually built, it's still a part of the PR process.
PR process.
Oh, this is a video. We're watching a video by Vaush, right?
All right. But it could also be a part of the PR process by people seeing that this system is going to, like, it's not going to kill itself, and it won't fail inward unless through, like, some mistake that it does or some unforeseen consequence of a certain action they do. A lot of it is going to be like, hey, I no longer trust the system. We need to build more horizontal structures instead of, like, lateral structures.
Yeah, but that doesn't have anything to do with a deficiency in other approaches. It's still necessary to participate in those.
Right.
I still don't understand what other purpose there could be to boycotting Hogwarts Legacy that doesn't involve an effort to deprive J.K. Rowling of public support and of wealth.
Right. Well, okay. So a lot of this argument hinged on the idea that like, I guess I'll just jump into it. So the reason that trans people are doing this is to allow us, like, or to show us ourselves as a trans community how powerful we are in society, how much leeway cis people or generally the social consciousness is going to let us prosper.
Well, I don't think. I mean, that power would be demonstrated in your ability to deprive them of attention and sales, right? I mean, the only mechanism by which you could demonstrate power through a boycott would be through the other objective of a boycott, which would be to deprive it of wealth and of sales.
Well, yeah, so I want you to imagine a world where, imagine if we lived in a world where this boycott worked. How much better do you think trans people in this world would be?
I mean, we can imagine sort of scenarios like this, but this is not the world that we live in, right? We do need to think of strategies that will benefit us the most at the end of the day. It is necessary, right?
I mean, it's a fanciful possibility, but it didn't happen, and it can't happen. There's no reasonable way a boycott can function in this way.
True. Titan Uranus says to keep other companies from being willing to interact with the franchise, leading to KR becoming another obscure has-been whose opinion doesn't matter. But I don't think this is a realistic goal when it comes to a franchise that is this huge, right?
If the trans community could somehow magically do that, that'd be great, but boycotts don't work at all. The entire right wing wasn't able to meaningfully boycott Nike or Gillette. And they're far more powerful and wealthy and influential than just the trans community, or whatever subset of it cares about Hogwarts Legacy.
Right, well, disregard their movements, because I'm not interested in reproducing their movements. I'm saying in a world where this gets like huge traction and it actually like does hurt the numbers of this company, it would behoove like the Hogwarts brand to try to separate as far away from J.K. Rowling as possible, or as far away from any other form of trans bigotry.
But that didn't happen, which is my criticism. Like, I don't think
it doesn't happen. Yes.
Right. So that would be my criticism.
I think Vaush is correct here. Like, I think we do need to recognize that people are hurting, but we also need to recognize that we need to do action that will result in bettering the situation and the position of the community overall, right? And the thing that I've been proposing throughout this whole stream is the thing that has the most chance of achieving that.
So that's why I would say this is kind of like retarded, the broader like boycott Hogwarts Legacy attitude, because we're talking about something that can't really happen. You know, we're rooting ourselves in a very naive understanding of how boycotts function.
Right.
Well, I think we're trying to get out certain naivetes of trans people, like for trans people in and of themselves. So right now, especially like in the Western world, I will admit I am part of the Western world. There has been a rise of hatred and a rise of like there's been a rise of destruction and hatred and tearing down of trans people. We see it in bills. We see it like, everywhere. You know what I mean? Like that video you were just watching on stream.
That's true.
Yeah, I agree. But this is why I would say it's even more important that we be intelligent when it comes to political strategy.
Exactly. I think that is correct. Because we're in a very, very bad situation, we should make moves that will leave us in a better position, not in a worse position, right? And raising money is a thing that will make small difference for J.K. Rowling in reality, because she's already a very rich person, but that will make a huge difference for the trans community, raising a lot of money, you know?
Well, I think this was a pretty intelligent political strategy, especially for people, especially for like trans people who need. Maybe let me circle back around when I talked about how trans people.
I don't think good strategy was employed here at all. Personally, I don't think that was a good strategy at all.
They get more vitriol, they get more hatred at their home than they do in public. Well, maybe not more, but it definitely hurts more because that's our home. We need a place to live, to survive. And when we can't feel that way, we need each other. We need it. The other day, literally 2 days ago, I was literally thinking about hopping onto a bus and not stopping until I didn't know where I was.
So much of the online discourse is based on personal purity, not tactical considerations. Yeah, I would agree. There wasn't a strategy, which is a mistake to begin with, right?
Because my mom was just being horrendously transphobic.
But how does I don't understand the relationship here. Mm-hmm. If you're doing something politically ineffective, it seems to me like the fact that trans people are already so marginalized means it would be even more harmful. Like right now, trans people are in a very precarious situation, which means it seems like we should be much more careful with our politics here. We have to be a lot more strategic. We have to be a lot more forward-thinking, as opposed to other issues that aren't as immediately on the table. Like, for example, I don't know, black people in the United States. Race relations aren't exactly good right now, but they're not facing this overwhelming tide of impending genocide like trans people are. So when it comes to like strategies for racial progressivism, I think that I'm more forgiving, I guess, of what I perceive to be bad strategy because it feels like there's a bit more room to feel things out. I don't think that's the case with trans people right now, which is why it's very frustrating when I see them doing stuff that looks like it has no chance of working and actively like making it worse for themselves.
Well, do you think that if we had any, do you think if we engaged in quote unquote good strategies, that would change the attitudes of the people who want to genocide us?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah, definitionally. Not all of them, but yeah, the better the strategy, the better the outcome. And one of the most desirable outcomes is moving people over.
I would probably personally disagree with that because it's not necessarily about the argument.
I don't even think so. Since in my opinion, to be honest, no actual boycott materialized, you know? Like the only results of what happened is that no actual boycott materialized and people only talk about harassment. That is all. You know?
It's about our identity in and of itself.
No, it's not.
Our identity. Go ahead.
Your identity doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is how many people agree with your identity. And insofar as getting people to agree with you, the better you strategize, the more likely you are to be able to win people over. I mean, it's necessary to do that, right? Like, we've seen the difference between good and bad advocacy when it comes to social movements. And the more people are convinced, the less you have to individually defend your identity. You have a social majority on your side with good strategy.
Well, these things are institutionalized, and again, like I said, systems, they will not kill themselves. And this is one of the reasons we're getting pushed back in the first place is, quote unquote, transgenderism or gender ideology. It threatens modernity. It threatens cis normativity. It threatens capitalism.
I disagree.
You know what I mean?
I
You
don't
disagree?
think I don't think it threatens capitalism, for one. And for two, we've seen a huge change in how much trans acceptance there is in the past 30 years. 30 years ago, nobody even knew what transgender meant. They knew the words transvestite and homosexual. Now, more than 50% of Americans support transgenders people, the ability to determine their own gender, blah blah. Basic support for trans rights. People can change their mind on this stuff. If you're making the argument that like systemic biases are immovable and unchangeable and a fact of the world, then you're kind of giving yourself up to bad strategy, because you're essentially saying there's no possibility of a good outcome to begin with. But I think that's...
But you can sort of get those regular people to engage with you, to sort of even support monetarily your causes if you engage in smart strategy about it, you know?
It's a self-destructive
I
attitude.
believe so.
Well, okay, so and I will agree with you on one thing, that like trans visibility has done a lot to help grow our community. Again, I'm talking about social reproduction theory. A lot of this has been done by trans people and very powerful trans allies. How this doesn't work is when we are told to expose ourselves and make ourselves feel and act weaker than we actually are. And that's one of the cases with this whole controversy in and of itself. This whole controversy is us actually revealing how much power we truly have.
None?
That trans people can't even get people to not pay $60 to buy a game.
Yeah, of course not. Boycotts don't work. That was never...
Yeah, that's not really a good thing. Like, a thing that demonstrates that trans people have no power is not a good thing. A better thing is to do things that build up trans people's power, right? And one of the ways to build power is to grow funds. It's undeniable. Right? Do you know what I mean?
Going to work. It seems kind of ineffective to me to publicly demonstrate the complete inability of the trans community to achieve a stated goal. It makes the trans community look weak, and moreover, it makes them look unpopular. It makes them look hysterical, like they're whining about something nobody else actually cares about. That's one of the reasons why I generally think boycotts are pretty laughable. Think of how much we laughed when the right wing ineptly tried to cancel Nike after their Colin Kaepernick deal, right? They weren't able to, because of course they couldn't. It's Nike. You can't boycott Nike. You can't boycott Nesquik or Coca-Cola. You can't boycott Gillette. But when right-wingers try...
I think the best that we can do is not fight about this between ourselves. Don't beat ourselves up about a thing that has already happened. Whether or not it was good, whether or not it was bad, whether or not it was effective or not, it doesn't matter because it's in the past. You cannot go back and undo a thing to be more effective, right? What we can do is focus on the now. We can focus on effective strategies now. We can focus on protecting those who have been made vulnerable by the whole situation, right? But discussing what already has happened will not help us in any way, and we must be present here and now and look into what we can do moving forward, right? Does that make sense, what I'm saying? We can focus right now on protecting those who are made vulnerable by the situation. And I think we can think about trying to grow funds for the trans community from this whole situation. Those are the things, those are my thoughts on this, on the things that I'm seeing, right? What do you think?
It's funny to us because they're going to fail, and it's funny when they fail. And that's how people feel right now
Right.
about trans people, because they made the same blunder. They did this run into. They tripped right over this same mistake, you know. And we've seen the consequences. It's gotten huge numbers on Twitch. They made, and by they I mean trans people and their allies, made Hogwarts Legacy trend for months before its release on social media about how people shouldn't play it, and so on and so forth. And infighting happened after it did get released,
Right.
where trans people and their allies started arguing with people like Hassan Piker. You know, no, you can't play it, even if the reason you were going to play it was to have a trans charity fundraising stream. And that infight,
Which is, in my opinion, a big mistake, right? A big mistake.
it makes the left look really bad. It makes the trans community look like a whiny, hysterical subsection of a broader political movement. Makes the left look weak. It just seems like a bad idea overall.
Yeah.
Well, I think that like
Yeah.
in a
I
world
agree.
where trans people aren't even allowed to have like a voice in this like engage like in this you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And Entropy Fan says, yeah, few well-equipped people streaming the game to shit on it and campaign for trans rights, Hassan most notably, would have probably ended up a net positive. Yeah, I agree. And we need that net positive from situations like this, right? Because J.K. Rowling would have made money whether or not anyone did anything. But there's a chance here to make money for the trans community, right?
I would much rather live in a world where trans people try to utilize their power in order to find outcomes that they view as desirable, and I will get
use power to create outcomes that we see as favorable. And to me, using our power to create favorable outcomes would be creating big charities, raising big amounts of money, and putting that money to trans-related causes, right? Making it loud and making it a loud spectacle as well, that a game that was made by a transphobe, well, not by a transphobe, that a game made in the universe created by a transphobe could be used as a vehicle to help trans people, right?
get into what we actually desired in that transaction, versus a world where we are kept quiet. I feel like this game would have just done just as well if trans people did not even have a peep of word about it, and you would still have like the right wing being like, oh look, this transphobic creator is still selling really well. Like they would have made the talking points anyway if we were not speaking at all.
I think that's a defeatist attitude. You're essentially absolving yourself of any responsibility for political effectiveness, and I disagree. I agree that the right would have tried. I agree the numbers still would have been high, but I think things were worsened because of the whole boycott shenanigan nonsense.
Yeah.
And I think that if you want to frame that as like the trans community staying quiet, then I think they should stay quiet, yeah. If them speaking out causes them to materially lose favor in public discourse, then it is the wrong move to speak out there. All forms of political engagement, all kinds of political discourse, they're about choosing when to pick your battles, right? I mean, that's been the case forever. All social movements are about this to some extent or another. So it makes sense then that at some points, like say for example, when an ultra popular, massive AAA game is about to release, it might be a really bad time to try to tie the perceived popularity of trans rights to, say, the failure of that game to sell well.
Yeah.
That is that's a really difficult sell.
Yeah.
Well, this isn't
I think it would be far better to rebrand the success of the game as a success for trans rights by raising a lot of money and doing stuff like that, right? That was a much, still is in my opinion, a much better thing to do. Right? Do you know what I mean? Do you understand what I'm... Well, we've been talking about it throughout the stream, but I think you know what I mean by that. Right?
Necessarily for, like, again, I'm not like, I don't care about like the cis people in this situation. Not that I don't care about cis people, but this situation is for trans people, and as a trans person, it allows people to see, hey, who was not willing to do this for us. Do you kind of get what I mean?
Yeah, I just don't care. What you're essentially saying is it's okay to do politically ineffective things if we get to have it.
There is no way for the trans community... Random String says there is no way for the trans community to act as a group. We have no organization as it is. There is no... Okay. There is no need for the trans community to act as a group, if that makes sense. There is no need. Let's read Gray DHD because it's related to my answer. My most conflicting thought is, how can you expect someone backed into a corner as trans people are to behave any other way? Okay, so let me put it this way. There is no need for the trans community to act as a group, but there are some that can turn this into a more positive thing by helping trans people that are upset to go through this, by creating big successful charities around the game to help trans causes and to help trans people in need, right? To engage more people outside of the community to help those causes by, for example, donating during such streams, right? Do you know what I mean? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Does that make sense? Right? Does that make sense?
As like a moral, like, virtue signal, or like a gatekeep we can use to determine who's, quote, really on our side. And it's not true. You can...
Like, so it's like I said, right? It's like I said, we do not need the trans community to act like a organization or a group, right?
Be really on trans people's side. And you can play Hogwarts Legacy with like a trans fundraising stream, or you can play it and make fun of it the whole time. It doesn't make you any less on trans people's side. But that purity testing stuff does cause a lot of infighting, as we're seeing right now, and I think that's really destructive.
Well, so trans people, like, especially like what I was talking about earlier about my situation, I felt like really trapped inside my house, and I really didn't have anybody else to call upon. Like, we just don't need allies. We need strong allies at the moment. We need people who can, like, take in trans people off the streets without a job. That's what we need.
I don't see what that
Yeah.
has to do with this particular subject, though.
Right.
You know, we could have had Hassan Piker getting probably around 60 or 70,000 viewers streaming it
Exactly.
with a trans charity
Yeah.
fund pinned in the corner, while the chat ruthlessly made fun of British people, J.K. Rowling, and transphobia in general.
agree.
in
I
the
agree here.
corner. It could have been dozens of hours of high-quality fundraiser content alongside ruthless political partisanship in your favor. I don't think that it
And I think that can still happen because the game is still fresh, the game is still new. I think it can still happen, honestly. You know? I think it should still happen. Right?
would have made.
I think
don't
this
think
should
that would
still
have been
happen.
cheapened in any way, just because they're playing Hogwarts Legacy. That would have been like the central point.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, no one really gets to like pick or choose. Like this is built upon a social consciousness. No one really gets to pick or choose how certain things are like effective. I would almost declare that as like a nirvana fallacy of sorts.
Do you think what I just said wouldn't be good? The thing that I just described?
For a trans charity?
With what I just said with Hassan. It would also probably win some normies over because it would be a big game that just released. And that way,
Yeah.
a lot of people who just want to see Hogwarts Legacy content would see Hassan streaming it. They would they would
It
go there and
is.
they'd see all
It is still a new game. So the thing that Vaush is describing here is still on the table, mind you.
all this like pro-trans stuff in Hassan's chat, which would probably be a lot better than going over to like a normie gamers chat and not having any
Oi,
kind of
brats.
adjacent political commentary.
Oi, brats.
Well, this, I guess that's possible, but this is not what we've asked for. Like, this isn't what we asked for as like as a people.
But who cares?
Can I ask?
Okay, I will pause. I will pause because since you've said this, this is the perfect opportunity for me to share my coffee. If you want to give me a donut, or if you want to help me actually get my transition goals going, then you can become a patron, like here. Okay, let's continue.
No, but you have to make a good argument for it. You can't just say it's okay, like you should do a thing just because the trans community asked. The trans community is full of, I hate them, people. I've noticed that people tend to make bad decisions. I don't think it's right to go like, okay, well, maybe this wouldn't be politically effective, but you still have to do this politically ineffective thing because we've told you to, you know?
Real quick, I noticed Beyond Safeword was in your chat, and I just want to say hello, Beyond.
Yeah, as a people, it does do a lot of work.
Safeword, we love you.
Don't look at chat. It's a classic mistake when you're talking to a live streamer. But also hi to them as well, of course. But you understand what I'm talking about, right? It's just about political effectiveness. If trans people are like really intent on the idea that they don't want to see the game, hear about the game, they kept talking about it, so clearly they want to hear about it, but they don't want to see people playing the game, they have to just go watch some, I don't know, some fucking Celeste live stream, like what...
I'm talking to you about it right now, aren't I?
Yeah, that's true. Just don't like, if it's politically effective to use the game's popularity as a springboard for pro-trans discussion, that seems to me like it's the objectively right move to make. I don't know what possible argument there could be to not do that.
Well, let me ask you a question. Do you believe in black-only spaces?
I don't like them that much, no. I mean,
No?
they're fine. For the most part, no. I tend not to like them. Yeah.
No? So, like, would you go out of your way to intrude upon a black-only space if black people said, hey, for this one day, can we please just have this one space?
Well, I probably wouldn't make a point of being a dick under those specific circumstances, if for no other reason than because I don't think
Yeah.
I'd get much out of being in that space under those circumstances anyway. But I don't see what this has to do with the Hogwarts Legacy discussion. That would imply that, like, all the internet is trans people's personal space.
I'm gonna be honest. I generally agree more with Vaush's position here. Like we must try to. We are in a very delicate position right now.
Not necessarily. This is just about, again, this whole strategy is about us as trans people visualize, because again, like I told, like it was never going to work, obviously. This is about us trans people visualizing that on a on this social level, on this conscious level, so that we know how to better engage with ourselves in our own communities.
What you're talking about is the definition of virtue signaling, though. You're saying what you're explicitly saying, this is politically ineffective, but I want this to be done anyway because I'm arbitrarily designating this as a marker of good virtue. So I want,
like, I just think honestly that would have been much better to set goals for how we want to improve the situation of trans communities, do the charity streams, raise the money, and then go and, you know, do the things that you want to do that would have benefited the community in a real way, right? In a real material way. And we really need this, right?
people to do it for that reason.
We need this.
Sure. Everyone does this though. Would you not agree on that? Like everybody has like this concept of this is another form of social reproduction.
But if it
as I like to
involves
talk about.
politically ineffective actions, then no, I don't think everyone does that. I think.
Well, no, this just involves all action in like period. There are certain behaviors that we find in other people that will make us potentially more or less comfortable with them. Everybody does this. It's impossible not to do this. This is like an animal being like friendly. Oh, not friendly, and run away.
Yeah, but if we're humans, we have the capacity for thought and strategy. And if the line that's being drawn is one which is going to harm the optics of the trans community and is politically ineffective, we shouldn't do it. Like, we're not thoughtless animals here, you know. If trans people are interpersonally uncomfortable with like seeing people play Hogwarts Legacy, I don't care about their comfort. They're not my friends. What I care about is the political well-being of the trans community broadly. And that, I think, is something that no individual trans person, or even the community, has the right to sacrifice for the benefit of their personal emotional comfort.
Right.
Because if we go down that road, then it's like...
I mean, emotional comfort is important. Emotional comfort is important to me. But I think there are better ways to achieve emotional comfort. You know what would bring me great emotional comfort? If we would have a lot of money, and if we could, for example, make sure that a trans person that is unsafe in a red state would be able to have a safe net to leave that state and live somewhere else, right? Or if we had the money and the means to give young people who were kicked out of their homes a place to live, to make sure that they can get an education, that would give me great emotional comfort, right? And to gain that emotional comfort, we must do things that will enable us that capital, right? Does that make sense? The betterment of our situation gives me great emotional comfort, right? Does that make sense? right? Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense.
You know, okay, like fuck political strategy altogether. Let's just wait out the apocalypse and, I don't know, play board games or Gartic phone. It's like almost political nihilism. You're not even trying anymore.
Well, there's potentially different strategies, and also, I like, so there's.
Thank you.
So your side of leftism, I personally, just because I like to get a rise out of you, I actually call it loser leftism. If you want to call it something more optimistic, we can call it survival leftism. But again, I'm just trying to get a rise out of you. But this basic idea that like the left is on the losing battle, and the left is it needs to like, and I'm sure you agree with this, like you don't think leftism is going to happen within our lifetimes. You just want the left to quote unquote survive, correct?
I want us to do what...
No, not correct. Leftism is happening in our lifetime whenever we engage in political action that espouses left-wing ideas. Leftism happens in our lifetime, yeah. Things like socialism, communism maybe do not have to happen in our lifetimes, but left-wing politics happen all the time in our lifetime, you know?
whatever seems at that time to be the most politically effective thing possible. If there is no avenue for building socialism at any given point, you work to convince people and to increase the likelihood of your movement surviving. It's just basic survival. Survival can involve flourishing as well, obviously, when you have the resources to do so. But you need to be prescient enough to know when that time is.
Do you always think that the ends justify the means?
Yes.
Always?
Yeah, that's utilitarianism. I have to believe that.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I guess that's where I would necessarily disagree, and this is one of the reasons I don't particularly subscribe to your form of leftism. Just to get a rise out of you, loser leftism. No, I'll call it survival leftism. I don't necessarily think that like engaging in certain strategies in order to survive is always amicable. Like
Yeah, I agree. But it's not strategies created to survive. We have to engage in strategies that will basically, for the lack of a better term, build power, right? Like, we need more power. And we can gain it by engaging in the wider discourse.
Again, I'm gonna do a debate bro thing and come up with an insane hypothetical. You prepared?
Sure.
All right, let's say that an asteroid hit the Earth, and the only way humans would survive is if we round up all the women, anyone who with a womb, and just turn them into brood mares. At that point, I think the death of the species would be more important than actually preserving the life of humans.
Well, depending on your axiomatic priors, you could make a utilitarian argument for letting the species die. It really depends on what your priors are and how well you think you can actually achieve them. But I don't think there's any hole in utilitarianism. You could theoretically arrive at a bunch of different conclusions depending on how you arbitrarily weight the different factors involved. If you don't care at all about the suffering of women, then obviously you would make them broodmares, but if you cared so much about them that you didn't even want to attempt to save the species, then you could, in a utilitarian fashion, justify letting us all die. I don't see what this has to do with not throwing a fuss about the Hogwarts Legacy business, though.
Right. Let's try to stay on topic. Even though this is probably like very deep, like rooted in our this is deeply why we contrast on this position. My thought is I'm fine with people living their life. Hey, c'est la vie. You do what you want to do. Obviously, if you want to play this game, I'm not gonna actively try to stop you. I know some people on Twitter or other places are really venting really hard. I'm not gonna take my time to put them down either. They're obviously hurting.
Okay.
I don't need tepid support. I need people that would.
I agree with Obsessive Forge. There is still time to gain something useful from this situation. I agree. And we will talk about it at the end of this segment.
Take me in if anything bad happened in my real life. You know what I mean? And so who do you think is going to be more likely?
If you want to do a one-time donation, then it's best to do it through coffee, Coffee. Where is the coffee? Yeah, I use coffee for one-time donations.
To take a person in, a person who is willing to give up this little creature comfort, or somebody who's not willing to give up this creature comfort.
I don't think there's any relationship between the things you're describing. Somebody who would be willing to give up ketchup because you told them to might well be more willing to take you in if you were homeless, because they're the kind of person who would give up ketchup for you. But that doesn't mean you were justified in asking to give up ketchup as a precondition of your relationship with them.
Yeah.
What you're really testing right now is subservience, which comes across as a little bit weird to me. See, being a good trans ally doesn't have anything to do with being nice to trans people or heeding their wishes, because trans people are people, and people have a bunch of random wishes that very often don't coincide with the broader interests of the group.
Yeah.
You can be a cold, callous asshole who has no trans friends and still be an excellent ally to the trans community.
That's true.
And one of the best ways you can do that is by being broadly politically effective. See, you wouldn't be so afraid of homelessness if we lived in a system that was more caring towards you.
Yeah.
And that systemic change can only come about if we have enough people on our side that we're able to make those changes, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's so necessary that we drop the interpersonal feels coddling and we focus broadly on stuff that improves the situation for people all around.
Yeah. So, for example, things like building capital and using that capital to engage in goals to improve the lives of trans people. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah, so in our current position, like I said, I don't need tepid support. Because I generally agree with you. I think that people like to claim that they are not transphobic. I think a lot of society builds them and produces them in that way, where people are transphobic without even realizing it. Just like people are racist without even realizing it, systemic racism, Then
why not ask people to give up ketchup for the trans people in their lives? Anyone who's willing to do it is probably more likely to take you into their home than somebody who wouldn't be willing to give up ketchup for you. They clearly have a higher level of investment. I don't see how it makes them more politically useful to you, but if that's a line in the sand that you want to draw.
Well, this isn't just me. This was the social consciousness that I didn't get to pick this move, this whole Hogwarts controversy. Obviously, a lot of the trans community as a social consciousness picked it itself. You know what I mean?
Well,
no individual person picked it.
The trans community picks lots of dumb stuff collectively, but we're all to an extent responsible for contributing, right? Especially as somebody with a public, persona like myself. My words carry more weight than any individual person on social media. There are trans people like Jessie Gender whose words do as well. Maybe more direct blame can be levied at those with larger audiences. The way social media works, it's all kind of abstracted. But all the same, I don't think a person is less of an ally if they're playing Hogwarts Legacy. It's just why tie someone's perceived value to you to a politically ineffective action?
The problem is an entropy fan. An entropy fan says it's not testing subservience. Vaush is missing the point. It trans people being hyper-vigilant and not feeling safe and looking for some comfort from the allies. The sad thing about this is that while Vaush may be missing the point, a lot of people will miss that point, which will mean that it will become a distinction without a difference, if you know what I mean. So it will become just a thing that will be perceived as testing subservience by many people, either way, whether it's true or not. Right? I think that is a thing to consider, at least.
Well, do you honestly think that like somebody who well, because I don't know, just from a lot of my personal experiences, and I don't necessarily want to like go on like the anecdotal level, but I used to be like a really heavy, like a really good ally. In fact, we've actually talked before, a really long time ago, before I even transitioned. Do you know that?
Oh, no, I didn't. So I suppose that's a compliment to you then. Congratulations.
Oh, okay, thank you. But yeah, so I got super duper invested in like a whole bunch of trans issues, and you know, it helped me crack my egg. But like, it was that level of investment. It was that level of like, I'm willing to give up this, give up that. Just like I was talking about how for like a lot of Black people and having a Black space, it's not necessarily about like any greater pull towards like a societal norm. It's about testing the waters. Hey, can we get this? Is this something that we can ask from other people? Is this a sacrifice they are willing to make? And in terms of buying a $60 game, I don't think that's necessarily a hard ask for people.
But we shouldn't be asking people to make arbitrary sacrifices for no reason other than to test their devotion to a demographic.
Why not?
Because that's stupid and it'll lose you allies. It doesn't win you anything.
Yeah, I have to agree here. Like, I will need to agree with Vaush here. Like, there are better ways to go around about this, right? Because it's basically also meaningless. It doesn't really get us anything.
Well, no, okay. It doesn't, okay. Do you remember, or do you know about those Nigerian prince scams?
Yes.
I will tell you why this is not a very good way to go about it. Because there's the amount of actual trans allies is not that big. Right? The amount of trans allies is not that big. So even if all trans allies would not get the game, not play it, not interact with it in any way, it will still not really make a significant dent in the game's sales. But doing a charity stream that has been mentioned before would activate a lot of people that are neutral for the most part, and those people would end up contributing to the betterment of trans people's situation by donating, right? Like, we really need to take those things into consideration, right? Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
Did you know?
We can't think always just of harm reduction. We need to think of how to actively make the situation of trans people good, not just how to reduce harm, right? We cannot be in reduce harm mode. We have to be in the building positive results mode, right?
Like a lot of people think it's really dumb. You know what I mean? Like you get that text or that call. It's like, hey, I'm a prince from Nigeria. I need you to transfer me money. Do you know why they still do that, even though everyone knows it's stupid?
Because they don't want to waste their time with people who are smart enough to kind of see through their scams. They only want the stupidest people. Otherwise, they would waste all their time half-words baiting people who fall for the initial scam wave, but give up as soon as they see the credit card info.
Exactly. So do you think as hurting as the trans community is right now, do you think we have the ability to leverage tepid support versus necessary needed support from our allies?
So I'm not letting you get away with this comparison. It's not tepid versus needed. You're trying to justify what I think is provably a politically ineffective action for no reason other than to demonstrate that they're willing to do something politically ineffective to show they like trans people. This doesn't help you in any way. It doesn't make your life any better. It makes it harder. The more people publicly disagree with trans people, the more likely you are to have to experience additional legal and social consequences in your future. This gets harder for you the fewer people agree with you.
Yeah.
So we should do the most politically effective thing. Damn the feelings. I don't care what any trans person says. If they're telling me to do something politically ineffective, then screw them. If they're not smart enough to understand... And to be fair, the average person on social media doesn't think about politics anywhere near as much as I do. Of course, it's my job. So I'm not going to fault every single individual member of a community for not instantly arriving at what I consider to be the most determinative political strategy, the most effective way forward. But man, it is very, very frustrating. And you seem to be you're not even disagreeing on the effectiveness. You're principally in favor of doing something ineffective if trans people want you to. And I just can't buy that. I will not buy that. If that makes me a tepid ally, I disagree, but I would much rather be a tepid ally. And I think, frankly, if tepid means politically effective, then tepid allies are what the trans community needs and deserves.
Well, I guess, did you, I don't want to take up all your time today.
We will watch this with a bit longer, and then we'll go to my sort of finishing thoughts on the subject. Then I will make a short announcement, and then we will do a bit of a break. I'll go to the toilet.
How much longer do you have to debate?
You don't need to worry about that. I'll let you know if I have to get to something else.
Okay. Well, yeah, no, I just, is it possible that...
Well, the problem is, an Entropy fan, that no actual boycott has manifested. So, yeah, I don't think an actual boycott has even manifested. So in that sense, it was not very useful, because there was no actual boycott to even remove the fog of war and to demonstrate anything, to be honest.
I can ask for a poll in your chat? I don't know, I'm just curious.
You can, though they have a
Doesn't
bias.
mean you'll do it.
What do you want to know from them?
Well, I just generally want to know, for trans people, if you can just get the trans people in your community, and I'm sure the cis people will not brigade your trans-only viewers poll, ask them, would you feel more comfortable or less comfortable around somebody who bought and is playing the transphobic game?
All right, well, the mods will work on that.
Yeah, will you do that, cis people? You won't brigade the chat, right? Or am I being super naive?
The community is majority trans anyway, so... Or at least the chat tends to be 50-50. Keep in mind, though, that I don't really care about the individual comfiness of any individual trans person, right? If their discomfort is part of a more broadly effective political strategy, then I think that's fine.
Keep in mind that the question of whether or not you feel comfortable around people who play the game does not answer the question, would you support a trans, would you support a charity stream that would gather money to make trans related projects happen, right? That's a whole different question. You can be uncomfortable about the idea of someone playing the game while still supporting the idea of a charity created around the game, if that makes sense, right? These are not mutually exclusive ideas, right? In my opinion, anyway.
Right. So yeah, I again, and you know, and I'm sorry to say this to you. I know that you think that you are a great trans ally, and you know, for the most part, you're a way better ally to trans people than the average person. Even, you know what I mean? Not even talking about certain other people.
A very interesting point is coming up, and I think we will discuss that point, and I think we will finish watching the video then, right? We don't need to watch the whole debate.
I don't really think of myself as a trans ally, for what it's worth. I really don't care about trans people any more than I do any other group of people. Trans people are the most targeted right now, and that's unfortunate, and it deserves special attention. But all of this is part of what I broadly consider to be ethical. If my morals trended a different direction, then I would be as unambivalently anti-trans as I am unambivalently pro-trans now. But I don't think of myself as like, I'm doing this for trans people. If I think something's ethical, I want it because I want it.
Oh, this is cutting.
Okay, so the broader point of what Vaush is saying here is that he does not treat trans people as a group, a special group, that he's like some super ally, but he has a broader set of principles, a broader set of ideals, a broader set of things he's fighting for, and fighting for trans rights is a part of that, right? That he does not just treat you know, he doesn't treat trans people as special people, but he's just, do you know what I mean, right? Do you know what I'm trying to say here? Well, there are many activists that would make a case that there was no boycott, actually, that it was so disorganized, that the number of people was so small, and that the scope was so limited that you can't really say that any boycott went off the ground.
Too close to home. I'm about to cry. Sorry. Oh my god, I can't believe this. This has nothing to do with you, but you said something very similar to what my brother told me the other day. So my mom, she was basically saying everyone at your work is lying to you. They like how you go to work in makeup, disgusting. And that really got to me. And I told, because I work with my brother's at my work, and he knows that's not how they think there. Like my work, they respect me and they love me there. But my brother wasn't willing to defend me. I'm sorry. Okay. And I talked to my brother about it. It's like, hey, why weren't you willing to even say anything about this? And he told me, I respect your identity, but this is your battle, not mine.
Do you think that's what I said?
Huh?
Do you think that in any way resembles what I said?
Well, no, it doesn't. It just shows me that this is my battle. This is our battle as a trans community. You know what I mean?
It's the opposite. Support for the rights of trans people are just a component of a broadly ethical set of behaviors. But I don't have to be a trans ally to do that, because being an ally suggests that there's some kind of like group separation going on here.
Right.
It's about ethical and unethical behavior. What's happening to the trans community is unethical. Their freedom is ethical. It's as simple as that. Trans issues come up a lot, but what you're doing, and I think you're doing this to an extent that it's hurting you, is you are treating this like a social space with the demands and expectations of one. I'll tolerate unreasonable demands from a friend, but I'm not friends with the trans community. They're just a group of people that I want to see political success for.
Right. Like, this is, I understand like your position on that. And I would expect like a lot of just decent people to have that same position. You know what I mean? This isn't necessarily because you're attached to the trans community. This is just because you generally feel that you're a good person. You know what I mean?
Well, I would hope so.
Right, but like, even if we had like zero support, you know what I mean, which we had for a very long time, you know what I mean, especially like back in like the 70s and the 60s, and even before then, we still need like strong like people to stick by us. Like we need people to hold the line. Do you think that it's okay, let me ask you a question. Do you
like what
prefer
you're looking
quantity
for.
over quality, correct?
That's very vague. Are we talking about Cheez-Its or a steak dinner or...
Okay, I think we can finish the conversation here. So yeah, we have gone through this, right? Blah, blah, blah. Wait, no. That's not what we're gonna do this differently. Okay. So avatar whoop, goes away, avatar goes whoop. I go here. We turn off the browser. There you go. We are back to the thing. We are back to the background of the segment that's not about the videos that we were reacting to. So, in summary, I think that we must focus, to summarize all the thoughts, I think that we really must focus on things that will bring us positive material results when it comes to the lives of trans people. I think that we must take care of our feelings, take care of the feelings of being hurt, but we also need to improve our lives in real ways. We need to push back against the very real material negative things that are being pushed against us, like legislation making it unlivable for us in certain areas. We must create networks of sort of mutual help, and we need capital for that as well, right? We must have capital for that. And so I am now semi-announcing that I myself, if no one's gonna do it, I might try to push for such a more organized stream of the game that is like a fundraiser to raise money for trans people and projects related to trans people. I myself may stream the game in such a capacity and invite other people of note to do it as well, right? What do you think? Do you think this is a good idea or not? Reply in chat. Well, that is the thing, isn't it? I may not be a big streamer, but it does not have to be a solo act. It can be a charity stream done by more than one streamer at once. In other words, I can pitch this idea to other people and we can do the thing at once, right? Yeah, exactly. I would do it alongside bigger streamers. Like, it doesn't need to be a solo act. Things are not done solo. You do not get things done solo. You get things done by organizing with other people and getting positive results. Love and solidarity, in other words, you know? Oh. So yeah. What's happening? So yeah. Oh my gosh. But yeah. But yeah. So since I have gained the approval of my chat, I think I will do it, and I think I will contact other streamers about it, and let's see how it will go, right? I will work on it after stream, and we will try to make that happen. So with that, with that said, if you have enjoyed this segment, please like, subscribe, hit the bell, become a Patreon, and spread the love. Thank you.